which can be entertaining, but it's also exhausting. You know, like, again.
I love Pat McAfee's response when he's like, oh, this is real. This is a real thing you're actually talking about. So clearly he had mentioned it before, and McAfee was almost like, are we being serious right now?
Where you go into like this isolation float tank chamber for like an hour, 2 hours, whatever it might be, and that's supposed to help you with stress, mindset, whatever it might be. But
it can also be one of those where you have to have like a safe word or hit a button because people can freak out when they get into those pods.
Yeah.
Or they do that. Like I know that there's some people do not handle that well when that happens. I mean, will Aaron Rodgers tap out after 3 hours of this?
Absolutely
Or is he going the full 4 days? A guy who drinks ayahuasca tea in the offseason probably isn't tapping out anytime soon. So I think he's probably going to go through with it.
Well, and it also, I mean, it doesn't sound like he's done it before?
I don't. He said friends who have done it have had profound experiences. So I'm guessing he has not. So he's talking about people who have done it that he knows and respects, I guess. So they've told him he should do it and what to expect, and now he's going to try it. I mean,
now we're on.
This is Bizarro World, and we also
Darkness Watch.
Let's also start to.
Will reporters be outside of the? Will they be standing in the light as he re-enters the world?
Look, here's the next one. You know, we've got Alejandro Avila who took one for the team and went and watched 80 for Brady on behalf of OutKick.
He's going to do it again, apparently.
What reporter is going to do this? What reporter is going to set about doing a 4-day isolation retreat just to report back and write about their experience and compare themselves to Aaron Rodgers? Someone's going to do it.
Yeah.
Someone's requesting that assignment right now.
I mean, now that would be fun to try to make it through whatever he's going to do this offseason to determine his team.
You think that's fun?
It would be fun to follow him to see how.
It'd be fun to read about the experience. I would never volunteer for something like that.
I'm fascinated by trying to like keep up with whatever they're doing. I mean, I'm not saying I would make it through, but I think it would be fun. Yeah.
I mean, has he been in a sweat lodge before? Is that the next step?
You know,
smoke a peace pipe and go into a sweat lodge for a couple days to see visions. That happened on the show Yellowstone with Casey. At one point, he entered the sweat lodge and had hallucinations. Maybe that's the next step. It's fun to talk about, and now I can't wait for his answer. Like, he's going to go in there for 4 days and then come out and say, I'm retired.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. But here's what I saw when I looked out in front of my face. Nothingness, blackness, darkness. And because of that, that showed me my NFL career is over, and now I'm retiring.
Chad, the best thing about LeBron and how he set the all-time scoring record last night is the way he did it with the fadeaway jumper and not at the free throw line, because you have the iconic photo now. Phil Knight's in the front row watching. That screenshot is epic. That's my favorite part of everything that took place last night for the Lakers.
It really was cool. And it was a cool moment. Look, regardless of what people want to think about LeBron James, and I oftentimes think, I'm a Michael Jordan guy. We're not going to have that debate on this show. But if your childhood was affected by one player or another,
that's the way you lean.
It also kind of turns into a hatred or disrespect of the guy that, others want to tout as the best ever.
Yeah.
I'm a Michael Jordan guy. Always
Same.
will be. But it is impossible to not deny LeBron James full respect for not only this record, but for being, if not the best, one of the 2 or 3 best players in the NBA for 20 years. From when he entered the league in 2003 until now, 2023, he has remained one of the top players in the NBA. That is remarkable longevity. That's how you get a record like this and break the all-time scoring mark. And for that, I respect the guy's game and his career undeniably.
Well, so his MVP season of 2012-13, he averaged 26.8 points per game, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. And the 2022 season, 30 points, 8.5 rebounds, 7 assists. It's virtually identical to what he's doing. Now, that it doesn't have the same talent around him that he did in Miami for the MVP year I'm referencing. But what he's done and how he's gone about this, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a part of the argument and actually giving validation to the guy that you're not rooting for in your argument. Like, we're the Jordan era. But if you're in this era, there's no doubt who the king is. of the NBA.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I look at Jordan, I think about in a time and place, there's probably no athlete greater than Michael Jordan from, 91 to 98.
Yeah.
In the span of those championships. Really the 6 straight, other than the 2 years he took off or the 1 year and then came back late in the next year playing baseball. We're never going to see a snapshot in time that's better in the NBA or maybe even in sport than that Michael Jordan era. But 20 years, I mean, that longevity is incredible. I'm always going to be a Jordan guy. I think he's the greatest ever. But that longevity for LeBron James is remarkable, and he's certainly an all-time great. And look, now the only question is, how much longer does he hang around, and how much does he shatter this mark?
Bronny's coming.
Make it almost unreachable, right? I mean, everything looks unreachable. This was unreachable for a long time. So how much further can he go? 2 years, 3 years? It's going to be, 2 years before Bronny? He'll be a freshman in college next season.
Yes.
So then he'd be eligible to go the year after that. Is it 2 more seasons after this? I'm guessing that's probably the case. But who knows?
And where will the
Maybe he
scoring
goes longer.
marker be after that? We're just referencing the numbers of what he's putting up right now. Pro Football Hall of Famer Steve Largent is going to join us in roughly 15 minutes or so. When we come back, just prior to Largent sitting down with us, the Biletnikoff Award-winning wide receiver from this past college football season, Jalen Hyatt, joins us and makes
VFL.
Chad very happy with the
VFL,
performance against Bama and
Jalen
more.
Hyatt, he really provided me a lot of joy. And when we sit down with Jalen Hyatt, I need to tell him just how much joy he provided me.
That's next. Live from Radio Row, Super Bowl 57. Across the OutKick network, this is OutKick 360.
It's so crazy because Tom Brady is just a touch older than me. I believe now there are no NFL players older than me, which that's the first time in my life I can say that.
Okay.
So now I feel really old. Now I feel truly and really old.
I'm sorry, man. God, that's horrible. I didn't know that feeling. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
there's a punter or a kicker. I have to check. Maybe I'm hoping there's like an old, like a long time punter, kicker, or long snapper that's older than me, but I don't think so. And it's amazing to me thinking about Brady the last few years. Like, I know how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I can't even imagine attempting to play in the NFL like this.
Right? Yeah. I mean, well, I don't even know if last season should have happened, but that's not up for me. It's not for anybody to sit there and argue.
I don't have the drive Tom Brady has. I'm very willing to admit that.
Right.
It seemed to me, just as an outsider with no inside information whatsoever, that he retired and that he engaged in normal life for the first time in a long time. Was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm getting back to the NFL.
I don't like the daycare thing. I love my kids, but I don't like dropping it off. I don't want to go play pickleball at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, let's get back to normal. But it'd be interesting. Like, I don't know if we'll see another quarterback take it that far, Andy, in the NFL. Like, he really pushed the limits,
Rodgers,
right?
Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers going to be 39. You got him hinting at retirement now, and it does feel like the game's maybe taking a little more toll on his body than Brady. Maybe there's some ayahuasca that'll fix that, but it's crazy that it lasted this long. I mean, I think back to how much my life, I graduated college in 2000 and, working my first job, watching Tom Brady lead the Patriots when they were the underdogs to the win against the Rams in the Super Bowl and thinking, well, that's a cool story. 6th-round guy, hope the career works out for him. And the level of winning and just consistency, I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
No. And I don't, especially with a quarterback who has that tenacity, he also puts in everything into the game. Like, it's like he can't take a breather. And it just, he has a different workflow. It kind of reminded me of what Kobe Bryant used to do in the NBA. Or you can go on and name them on. But now, but I'm interested to see now, what that looks like in the future, and Does this, and I'll ask you this because this news could break while we're down here in Mobile. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. Does this make room for him now to potentially say, okay, I can go to Tampa. We can go find a quarterback that works for me in my system and maybe take over the offensive coordinator position? What have your thoughts been on the Monken Buccaneer stuff?
Are you ready for Stetson Bennett as the Buccaneers starting quarterback? Are we ready to live in a world where Stetson Bennett makes that pirate ship go boom? Can
I'm
that
excited.
happen?
It can in the 6th round.
It's very interesting because, Monken, I think, you look at that tenure with Jameis Winston in Tampa, it didn't go as well as anybody would have wanted. And maybe Monken going, well, if I had a different quarterback, one who didn't put the ball in harm's way as often, perhaps that works out.
Back on Radio Row, OutKick 360 rolls on across the OutKick network. Coming up in just under 15 minutes, Pro Football Hall of Famer Steve Largent will sit down with us. Still to come, WWE superstar Seth Rollins in 40 minutes from right now. Plus Jim McMahon, Kyle Turley, LeGarrette Blount, and more. We kick off our chats from our broadcast location here with OutKick with a wideout who has gone from third option in an offense that was up-tempo to the Biletnikoff award-winning season, and now potentially a first-round pick. Here's our discussion with Tennessee wide receiver Jalen Hyatt. The past year has been the world of Hyatt, from the University of Tennessee, NIL, and now preparing for the NFL draft. Tennessee wide receiver Jalen Hyatt joins us on OutKick 360. Good to see you.
Good to see y'all.
Congrats on all the success.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What has the last 12 months been like as far as a whirlwind is concerned?
Yeah, a lot of work. A lot of work as far as getting ready for combine, and but at the same time, it's been fun. It's been fun for sure.
So as a Tennessee grad, I want to start by thanking you for providing me with one of the greatest moments of my sports life. Hutton and I were in the stadium for the game against Alabama.
Okay. Yep.
I'm sure this isn't the first time you've heard this, but it was a remarkable day. I mean, we did our show the day before. The game was heavily hyped. It surpassed every possible expectation for what a football game could be. I'm not going to ask the standard, what was it like to score 5 touchdowns against Alabama, but was this something you kind of thought the week of, hey, I'm going to have an opportunity here. If things strike just right, this could be a big day for me.
Yeah, well, just seeing the game plan that we had, after we played LSU, I knew it could be a big day for me. Coach Hype and Coach Golis, they had some trust in me after the LSU game, and not only that, just being with Hooker and him, saying, all right, we're gonna get you the ball in this game, and I knew it was time for me to take over. A perfect game to do it.
Well, we're going to talk to Hendon Hooker while we're here on Radio Row also, so we'll get his perspective of that game as well. It also led to one of the most iconic photos in Tennessee football history, post-game with you smoking a cigar with Peyton Manning. Was that planned at all, or was that just a spontaneous shot?
No, it was not planned at all. I seen him. He was with his family. So I got to meet his son, and not only that, just I think the biggest thing was when I smoked a cigar with him. Everybody was around. It was a big moment for me because it's Peyton Manning. Who wouldn't want to do that? A legend. So I had after that game, man, I had a great time in the locker room for sure.
Tennessee wideout Jalen Hyatt with us on OutKick. So, what clicked from 2021 to 2022 for you?
I'll say hard work, dedication. I put a little more into it in the off season. Because coming off my sophomore year, didn't do what I wanted to do as far as what I know I can do, and wanted to do more for the team. I asked Coach Pope and Coach Burns that was there at that time, and just seeing what I messed up on, what I need to improve on, and but at the same time, I knew what my biggest improvement was. I knew what I had to improve on was weight gain, and just being in the SEC. You have to get you have to be as far as up there as far as with your weight, because if not, you would just get pushed around. You're in the one of the best conferences in the college football, and it's a physical conference, and I had to learn that, and it was hard for me to adjust, but I just took the hard work and dedication for that, for that off season, and everything just worked out.
Well, and you're going to get the question from general managers as well. What was the difference between one off season to the next, from Jeremy Pruitt to Josh Heupel year 2? When you go to your coaches and ask how you can improve, what changed within you between those 2 seasons?
I feel like I matured. I think that was the biggest one, growth. I feel like I've become a better person, a better leader too as well. And, my sophomore year, I wasn't leading anything. Sometimes was coming in late. Just wasn't taking it. Just wasn't, being the person I know I can be in that room. And, my junior year, going into my junior year, those 2 months, June and July, I caught easily about 15,000 balls, just throughout those. And I think that was one of the biggest jumps, just ball skills, hand and eye coordination, just trying to do a lot of things to, better myself and better my game.
You're going to get drafted. There's no doubt about it. So I'm going to kind of prep you for some questions you're going to be getting in the draft process. If someone says Jalen Hyatt is too small to excel in the NFL, what is your response to that?
Well, I'll say you have to catch me first.
And there are examples of guys that are smaller than you in the NFL that have excelled, right?
Yeah. You have your, Devontae Smiths and, Henry Ruggs. Just a lot of guys that, have done it, in the NFL. But, at the same time, I feel good with my weight. And that, I know I can improve in my weight, obviously, and I know that would take time for me. But, like I said, I'm in a very good position. I'm very confident with myself, and I feel like whatever team wants to pick me up and draft me, they're getting a good player.
When guys started pressing you off the line of scrimmage, is that something you felt like you improved on over the course of your time at Tennessee?
Yeah, for sure. With me, a lot of people take me just as a guy that just loves to run deep. But if you actually really dive into my film, you actually look at it and break it down. I have a lot of I have routes in there. I have routes where I'm catching the ball and running for 60 or 70 yards, and I have me running routes of digs and just a lot of things. But just with Coach Hype offense, it is a little different from a regular pro style offense. I think everybody understands that, but at the same time, it's not like we just running deep all day. That's you can't do that in the SEC. Teams, especially the defenses that we see. That's easy to cover. Just put everybody back 20 yards and, treat it like punt return or something. But, we do a lot more things that, people really doesn't see.
Take us inside the world of name, image, likeness. And what's the offer like to get you to return to college versus go pro now?
Yeah.
How close are they?
Especially with how everything is now with NIL. For me, my goal is the NFL. My goal is the NFL, and even with NIL, even with a lot of things that can factor into it that guys go through it now, and then with the money, for me, I want it to be in the National Football League. That's my goal, that's my dream, and even we were in the discussions of maybe coming back or leaving, and but for me I wanted to be in the league. That's always been my goal, always been my dream, and we're here to accomplish that.
It's crazy, not just NIL, but transfer portal.
Yep.
As someone who follows the program closely, I assumed you would transfer.
Yep.
After year one with Josh Heupel, I thought it was a foregone conclusion you'd be gone. How hard did you consider transferring after that year?
Yep.
And what do you make of the state of college football right now that, hey, you're a guy who stayed, that's a great success story about what you're going to mean to Tennessee and what Tennessee means to you moving forward. What's your message to people out there that are considering all the options?
Just year one, for me, my sophomore year, just with the transfer portal, I hadn't, to be honest, I didn't even decide, have any discussions of, with my family about maybe this isn't the right place, maybe I should, because it was all on me. I didn't put the work in that I should have put in. And I feel like, with the college football world today and how everything goes, I feel like, I love the transfer portal. It does great things. I mean, we have, for instance, Hendon Hooker, coming from Virginia Tech to Tennessee, and, you see what he can do. But at the same time, it's a lot of things with transfer portal that I really, I think sometimes people run away from the hard work. People, when they don't get what they want, they instantly hit the portal, and what's the saying? It's not always greener on the other side. It's just not sometimes. And trust me, I love the transfer portal. I love it. With college football, but I think there should be some rules to it. Because we have guys that's leaving 3 times. You go from this school to this school to this school, and when scouts see that, what kind of player are you getting? Are you getting a player that wants to work, or are you getting a player that runs from the work? So I love the transfer portal, I really do, but I think there's some rules. I think there should be some rules in place for it, and at the same time, I think a lot of guys need to start considering and asking themselves, am I really putting in the work? Did I give my all, or whatever, you have to do it. But that's what I think.
Got a glimpse of Joe Milton against Vanderbilt and against Clemson in the Orange Bowl. He showed a lot of improvement from the season before. What can Tennessee fans expect from a Joe Milton run Tennessee offense next season?
Well, Joe, he can make every throw. He can make every throw. I think we all know that. And he's a great leader as well. Just him being with Hooker and, obviously being there with Coach Hawsey, it's going to help him a lot. And I think, it's obviously his team. He's going to take over. And, I'm very, very excited to see what he does this upcoming season for sure.
Jalen Hyatt, the Bolitnikoff Award winner. Where's the trophy?
Oh, I got to go get it. It.
Okay.
Yep.
You still don't have it?
I don't even have it yet. No, sir.
You have to go get it, or can they ship it to you?
Nah, I got to go get it.
You got to go pick it up. All right.
Yeah,
where do you go?
I think I have it in Tuscaloosa. So I
oh, wow. So you do
ceremony, and yeah, we hadn't even had that yet. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, we have to go do all that, but yeah, I don't have it yet. Can't wait to get my hands on it.
You can stay at a Hyatt while you're there.
Oh, yeah.
The world of Hyatt. Really cool with the NIL during the bowl game, where they gave gift cards for family members of your teammates. Yep. And by the way, Chad and I thought you were going to play in the game based on that.
Yeah.
I lost that bet.
Yeah, I apologize for that. But yeah, the world of Hyatt, just what they have done for my teammates, families. It's just a blessing, man. Just putting everybody, because with bowl games, man, it's a little different than people, expect. It's kind of hard. It's hard to get your whole family out because, it's in a different place, and it's a lot of things. You have to find hotels. And, obviously when you go to, some cities like, especially Miami, those hotels cost, man. They're not cheap, man. It's expensive. And, what the World of Hyatt did, they try to help families. They try to help my teammates. And it definitely worked out perfectly. Everybody enjoyed their time up there. And it was a beautiful thing.
Well, and think about it. I mean, from NIL, if not for that being allowed, you don't make that connection during college.
No.
And what you've done now is you carry it over to your pro career, right?
Yes, sir.
This continues.
Yes, sir. Yep, that's what we want to do. And, I think it's a beautiful, not just because of the name, because I'm, my last name's Hyatt and Hyatt. I think just what they want to do. And not only that, just what their loyalty points and what they're trying to do is free to sign up. You can sign up and, you get, when you keep going and staying at Hyatt hotels, you get points back and you can get to upgrade suites. You can do a lot of things with these points that a lot of people don't even realize, and it's free. And I think what they got done is just, it's amazing.
Are you a first-round pick?
Yes, sir, for sure.
If not for that option, would you have stayed? Like, where did you need the feedback?
The evaluation to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if I got something that said, you know, we think you can go 3rd round or
like day 2,
or, you know, day 2, I would have came back, because I'm a first-round guy. I know I am, and what I have done on the field, and not only that, if I did come back, what I have done on the field, you know, and I know what I can do. I know what I can do on the field, and you know, I'm just obviously in a great position, but I know I still have a lot of more work to do. But at the same time, they don't know the player they're getting. You know, I'm a hard worker. I'm a perfectionist. I stay in the building, stay in the facility. I want to get better every day, and that's just my goal. I'm purpose-driven. That's what I want to do.
What's the 40 going to be?
4.29.
That's the goal.
That's first round.
That's the goal.
That's first round.
Hey, thanks again for providing the Alabama game for me and every other Tennessee grad. We appreciate that. The streak is over, and we're thrilled with that streak being over.
We just got to keep going. You know, we got the win, but let's be consistent. You know, let's win again.
Let's go back and forth now. Let's make it a real rivalry year in and year out. That's right.
It's been 15 years. I think it is 15 years that we beat them. So, all right, we got our win. Now let's do a real rivalry, how it's supposed to be, how it used to be.
Keep up your momentum as well.
Sir. Yes, sir, always.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all.
Jalen Hyatt has been our guest. More coming from Radio Row here on OutKick 360. Chad, we're rooting for him.
Yeah, for sure. And I felt he was really genuine in talking to him about it being his fault when Josh Heupel took over, that he didn't immediately take to the program, and said he didn't think about transferring. He just came back stronger and bought in, and boy, look at the results this past season. A Biletnikoff Award.
Yeah, there are plenty of doubters about Jalen Hyatt, right, moving to the NFL. Our next guest can relate, and he turned it into one of the best careers for a wide receiver in the league. Pro Football Hall of Famer Steve Largent joins us on OutKick 360, walking around Radio Row. Chad, the Hall of Famers wear the jackets. Steve's here like you and I.
Yeah, he's a true man of the people, Steve.
That's right.
Thank you finally for making me feel more relatable to a Pro Football Hall of Famer. It's the first time I felt on the same wavelength. Is the jacket just at home in the closet?
It's a home in the closet.
There's no special place you keep it, just with the rest of your sports coats?
No, it's just in my closet. But it is special.
Certainly.
Believe me. Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks legend and Bum Phillips and the Oilers. This is the worst trade he's ever made.
Yeah, it wasn't even a trade. Actually, what it was he released me on, it was a Sunday, and I packed up my stuff, left on maybe Sunday afternoon, packed up my stuff, drove back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, where my wife was, and got a call on Monday that the Seahawks had implemented a trade. I didn't know they were even, I thought I was cut. I was cut. And then
So that was the conversation, was hey, we're letting you go.
Right. Yeah, that's what they let me know. You're out of here. And so I packed up my stuff and left, but then they reclaimed me. I didn't know that. They reclaimed me and then worked out a trade with Seattle. And the beauty of that was that Jerry Rome was my college coach for 3 years at University of Tulsa. He became the quarterback receiver coach in Seattle and said, hey, when he saw my name on the waiver wire, he said, well, that must be a mistake. And they said, no, it's not a mistake. And they said, well, let's get him. And so they gave up an eighth round draft choice.
You know, I think the football world was introduced to Seahawks fans when they won a Super Bowl, competed in another one, the 12th man, great noise in that facility. You were in at the start of that, playing in the Kingdome also. What was it like in the early years of the Seahawks and building that fan base with your teams?
Well, what I've always said is that the fans in Seattle were more like college fans than professional fans.
Which is a compliment.
Which is a compliment, it is, because what I mean by that is they are very loud and vocal and supportive of their home team, but they don't heckle the other team. They don't cast aspersions on them or cuss at them or any of that kind of stuff. They watch the game. and they root for the home team, and that's the way they still are today.
Steve Largent has always been, to me, a guy that, people, if you're coaching someone, talking about, they say, hey, if Steve Largent could do it at this level, you can work hard enough and maybe make it in that level. Do you see that as a compliment? Or do you see that as disrespect of your athletic ability when people will say that about you?
Well, no, because, I mean, if you look at my career and my play, it came about because of a lot of hard work. And I couldn't have done it if I had not worked as hard as I did and disciplined myself to not eat this or or do these sprints and that kind of stuff. I had to do that to be able to separate myself from the other receivers, to separate myself from the defensive backs. I had to do that kind of stuff, and I did. So I look at it as a compliment, not criticism.
No criticism, but what's it like seeing a guy like DK Metcalf with all of the intangibles that everyone's looking for? It took this long to break your records at the position, and he's starting to set those now.
Yeah, well, DK is a physical phenomenon.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's a big guy, long arms, and he's tough. I really like the way he plays the game. But he still drops a lot of balls.
Yep.
And I think he'll develop, and those will he'll start catching more and more of those balls that he's dropping today. So I really have great hopes for his future, and think he could be a heck of a player.
In a weird way, even with all the records you set, becoming a Pro Football Hall of Famer, I go back and watch film of you, highlights of you, and I think you were almost a man out of your era. And what I mean by that is, being a technician of the game, at your position, the game has become a lot more technical with timing, with everything else, with quarterbacks putting in the work, being on the same page. I look at you and think you would have been a perfect Tom Brady, New England Patriots receiver in a different era. When you compare the eras that you played in to now, what do you think about if Steve Largent in his athletic prime is playing in the NFL?
Well, I think I could. I mean, I think every ex-player thinks he could play in the league today.
Yeah. But certainly the Hall of Famers could.
The thing that's interesting to me is the receivers. When I played, my career, for example, I averaged 14 yards per catch for 14 years. Today, a receiver will average about 6 yards per catch. Now they throw the ball a lot more, and they catch the ball. And they run with it and that kind of thing, but their average is 6 yards. Mine was 14 yards, but they're throwing the ball so much more. And that's the part of the game that I love and that I wish I was a part of, was the passing game. And so that, but it was a different time, different era, and but I still would say that I love the game more today than when I played, because they're throwing it more.
Steve Largent, our guest on OutKick 360. More intense, the NFL or Oklahoma Congress?
Well, I was actually in the U.S. Congress, but I would say it's pretty intense in Congress. It's probably more so today, but it was when I was there too.
When you look at politics today, do you feel like you could help? Or do you look at it and say, I'm glad I'm not doing that job anymore?
I'm glad I'm not doing that job anymore. I don't know that I could help make it any better. I think that there's got to be some kind of reform that takes place. And I think that really begins with the leader, that being the president, the speaker. You've got to have people that get it and know that they've got to do the work of the people. And it's not just do the work for the Republicans or do the work for the Democrats. It's do the work for the people. And so, hopefully we'll find that day again.
Why'd you decide to get out of it?
I ran for governor.
Oh.
I ran for governor in the state of Oklahoma, lost by 5,000 votes.
Well, you didn't jump back in?
No, I always told my wife, she was the one that talked me into running for Congress in the first place. I said, if I will run, and if I win, I'm serving, and if I lose, then we're done, and I don't want to ever talk about it again. And she said, okay. And so we ran, and I won in Congress 4 times, and then I ran for governor and lost, and that was it.
So the one loss, you're like, we're done.
I'm
We're
done.
talking about it.
I'm done.
Until today.
Thank God. Thank God you didn't take that into your football career
Oh,
and said, one loss and I'm out. I'm not coming back from it.
You can't do that. You can't do that in the NFL, and nobody can.
What was the Seahawks season like, watching this, when no one expected this from them?
This year?
Yes.
With Geno Smith.
Yeah, Geno Smith had just an outstanding year. I mean, his statistics for the year are like 4th or 5th in the league, right?
Yes.
So he's just outstanding year for him. I'm really proud for him. He did a great job. And yet I think this was a year that you asked the coach, and he would tell you this was a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
And I think they did that. They found 2 offensive tackles that can really play. They drafted 2 offensive tackles that could really play, and they've got some other key positions filled. And so I think they went a long way. And I think they were shocked that they were in the playoffs.
I think most people have seen the commercials, but I know you're here with HeGetsUs.com.
Yeah.
Tell us about that mission.
Well, it's basically it's something that's been developed not by any religious organization or denomination or anything like that. It's just some people that said, hey, we need to put some money behind an effort to say that Jesus gets us, that Jesus understands us, that Jesus is willing to forgive us, that Jesus is offering us his confounding love. And that's what they did. And so, I mean, more credit to them. I don't know who they are, but to their credit, they've done a really outstanding job. And they've got 2 commercials on the Super Bowl this year. They've been running them on the playoffs, but they have them on the Super Bowl this year. I don't know how much money they spent on that, but it was a lot, about $20 million. And that really speaks to their hearts about wanting to do good for people. But they're basically commercials talking about Jesus and his love for us.
Who wins Sunday?
I think you got to. I don't know if Patrick Mahomes goes off, they'll win. But if it's up to the offensive and defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles, they'll win.
Both are legit. Both options there.
Yep.
Steve, great to see you, man.
Hey,
Thank you
Good
for
to
the
see
visit.
You too. Thank you, sir.
Steve Largent has been our guest. More coming from Radio Row on OutKick 360.
I witnessed, Dennis Price and C-Spray and all these people just do such amazing things, and we continue to get asked about Afghanistan and what we didn't do in Ukraine. Like, why would you, like, beyond Aziz, it's no brainer why I would go help Aziz. Why would we continue to help these people? And I think the easy answer is the right thing to do. Like, I mean, when the governments of the world completely failed, including our own, it was very discouraging. But what brought me hope was to see that when the governments of the world failed, good people stood up and did what the governments wouldn't do and couldn't probably do, and did the right thing. And that was really encouraging for me, because I think all of us kind of struggle with hope in our country right now because of the political divide and things that we don't agree with. But it was really hopeful to see that when the governments don't do the right thing, people do. And one of the things myself and C-Spray were asking in this interview is, why would you do it? And of course we said, because it's the right thing to do. But C-Spray was asked a question that I think is important that we can all learn from. He was asked, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And he said, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And whether it's something like this or in your personal lives, like, I think we all have the ability to do the right thing in our own little spheres of our life. And we always try to balance the ROI. Like, what are we going to get out of it? What's the return on investment? But it doesn't always have to be worth it to do the right thing. And in this case, I don't know if it was worth it or not. I thought it was worth it to Aziz and his family and the 17,000 Afghans. And I believe that burden God put in our heart. I think it was worth it to God for us to be obedient and go do that call. But I think the world can learn something from this, that there is hope, that there's good people around and will stand up and do the right things. People that supported us were not people that I typically agree with. There's a lot of people that follow me on Instagram that hate me and bash me for my conservative views and stuff like that. But they were writing me like, hey, I don't like you, but what you're doing is awesome. And where can I support? Where can I give money? And it was so cool. And we had this Jewish organization that they wanted to pay for 2 planes, which was like $1.5 million, a big donation. And they called me back and they said, hey, we tried to make the donation, but we can't do it. And I was like, oh, why? Did I give you the wrong routing number or something? And they said, no, we're a Jewish organization, and Mighty Oaks Foundation, my foundation, is a Christian organization, and we can't give you that money. And I said, okay, but you do realize we're rescuing Muslims, right? And we kind of laughed and moved forward and they made that donation. It was just an amazing moment in time where politics, religion, like nothing else mattered besides good people standing up and do the right thing for other people. And it'll always be like just super special to me to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the whole thing. And like I said to the audience, go ahead and get the book, Saving Aziz. You can get it anywhere you want to get books. It's an incredible story, and I think it's something young people especially should learn about. And everyone, because it does go to show that there's good people. You know, everyone wants to be at each other's throats these days. That's kind of what the media teaches you to do. Hate each other. Everyone's a villain. If you disagree, you have to hate. Not true. Not true at all. So I think your story is you know, represents that you can, a lot of good out there. Now on the Ukraine, because I do want to talk about this, because the war is ongoing. What was your experience when it comes to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it's changed. It's changed since I began. You know, it started in February. We had sea sprayers on the ground before the invasion because we knew it was coming. We were watching it unfold, and then I went immediately after the invasion. I was in Ukraine, you know, days after the invasion, and originally we went there to see, you know, hey, how can we help? Afghanistan is a lot different. People couldn't go in Afghanistan and load up mass amounts of people to get them out. We were able to do that. Ukraine, people could drive a bus across the border, open the door, load it up, and get people out. So the mass evacs were not something we needed to do. And, you know, one of the things about special operations is you do what's special, you do what other people can't.
Coming up from Super Bowl 57 Radio Row, Kyle Turley and Jim McMahon will be joining us here at our broadcast site inside the Convention Center in Phoenix. Also, still to come, Ross Tucker will join us live. Yep. And in 9 minutes, WWE superstar Seth Rollins stops by our broadcast site. Chad, Clay told us last night that the Super Bowl commercials sold out for this weekend on Fox. $7 million per is what it's going for. Super Bowl one, $42,000 is what you had to pay, and now it's at $7 million. It's up $500,000 from last year.
And I think the total is $500 million that Fox will make in Super Bowl ad revenue.
Just within the game itself.
Just within, yes, kickoff till the end of the game. $7 million per. I would love to know the metrics of a company making that decision. I've always thought about this. There was always, you've got the official, alcoholic beverage of the NFL or the official insurance provider. And those ads are throughout the season on almost every NFL game. Weighing the, exorbitant amount of money you're going to spend to be that, right, with the NFL versus let's do 2 or 3 big Super Bowl ads. If we're not going to be the official whatever, we can spend a lot of our advertising budget just within that Super Bowl game and the benefits of each and what that looks like and what the ROI is for advertising with the Super Bowl. It's obviously big money, and it's worth it to these companies.
Clearly.
But I'd love to know when they compare and contrast those two options.
Well, so like a topic of conversation the Monday after the Super Bowl is always about the top commercials, right? The ones that were awesome, the ones that were flops. But like if you really look back, you could be better than me on this. 12 months ago, what was the top Super Bowl commercial?
It's hard to remember.
Because it's about ad recognition, and you're talking about it the next day. But now on social media, I'm sure we could YouTube it right now. There will be a running. Here are the Super Bowl ads for Super Bowl 57 before we even see them air. There will be a stock of them already ready to go, and you can preview them.
The NFL ad is always one that's going to get talked about. And they've been previewing that with different little clips of past and present NFL players of what their Super Bowl ad's going to be. It's the big debate has been, should you make us cry or make us laugh? And I feel like last Super Bowl the theme was it was more laughter.
Yeah.
For the pandemic and all these other things, there was a lot more tears and politics and all that. Then this last Super Bowl, I remember the theme being things that, making people laugh with ads again. But I can't really think of one that really jumps out. But what is inevitably going to happen is something's not going to land.
Sure.
Something an ad agency pitched is not going to land. And suddenly you're going to have everyone in America saying, you spent $7 million on that?
Yeah.
That was your idea? You thought that was a good idea for $7 million for that ad? There's going to be some of that with this Super Bowl. There is every year.
And there's always a great cameo, right?
Oh, there's going to be plenty of those.
What's the big movie other than 80 for Brady that you expect to see?
I don't think 80 for Brady is going to be in the Super Bowl at all, the way you do, because it's already out. The big trailers.
The man
for the
has
Super
a contract with Fox. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know that him as a producer is going to get them Super Bowl ad space because he's a producer and he's in the movie. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. It's going to be a lot of whatever the big budget, Ant-Man and Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. It's going to be the Marvel movies, whatever the big summer blockbuster is. We're going to see more of those.
Hour 1 in the books, 2 more to go on the Wednesday edition, and it includes WWE superstar Seth Rollins scheduled to join us when we return to kickoff hour number 2 from Radio Row. OutKick 360 rolls on across the OutKick network.
College football's in trouble. There's a lot of people trying to keep it from happening.
I think it's a general consensus across the college football landscape. We want to play football.
College football is a huge part of the fall. It's a huge part of Americana itself.
Just really felt like people in the country needed college football to just feel a little sense of normal.
Big news from the Big Ten as the conference releasing its 10-game football schedule.
We go home thinking there's going to be practice the next day. Everybody gets a text, stay home, everything's canceled.
Big Ten fall football season has been canceled.
We just believe collectively there's too much uncertainty.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, though, Kevin, is that was the same position you had 6 days ago.
The Big Ten is an unmitigated disaster.
There was a ton of confusion. There was presidents saying one thing, there was coaches saying another.
Players had to be silent, coaches had to be silent, ADs had to be silent.
People said, how does what you just did make any sense?
And nobody really knew what the heck happened when they voted to cancel the season.
You make this huge historical announcement, and then Kevin Warren never does a press conference to explain it. It was like a masterclass in how not to handle a crisis.
The word really that was lacking in all this is transparency.
It felt like a lot of stuff was happening behind closed doors.
Even today, we still don't know what occurred.
So you don't tell us parents, that's fine, but you're not telling the young men that it affects.
We have to make a decision to save the season. What about the history books? What about the rivalry games? What about Paul Bunyan's axe? How is that not going to go to a team this year?
This is a failure of epic magnitude, the Big Ten presidents and leaders should be held accountable for the disastrous decisions that they're making.
Then the commissioner doubles down, saying his decision will not be revisited.
And that's the point. It felt like a war was declared on the Big Ten and Kevin Warren.
Everything turned political.
Because if this is medical, then you would have stopped the game of football a long time ago.
I think the Big Ten leaders will tell you that they probably made a mistake in hindsight.
If I had the chance to do it all over last year, I would make the same decisions that we made.
Leading off hour number 2 with the best dressed, best championship run according to Seth Rollins and more. WWE superstar Seth freaking Rollins joins us on OutKick 360. Pleasure,
boys,
man.
How are you? Thanks for having me. Hell of a setup you got here. You got like 4 or 5 different cameras just pointing right at me. Feels good. Feels
lights.
good.
You respond well to the lights.
I've got I got the glasses on, so I feel good. I feel protected. Let's rock and roll. What you boys got going on today?
How much did you pay for the wardrobe today?
That's an undisclosed amount of money. A good man doesn't talk about his money and how he spends it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Last time you wore the same suit on Raw, on SmackDown, on a pay-per-view, whatever it might be.
Last time I wore the same one?
Yeah, repeat.
No repeats.
I've noticed this.
Yeah, it's different every single time. Always. They don't recycle. It's a wild game I'm playing over here.
I
couldn't
keep up with it, man.
Yeah, it's a wild game I'm playing over here, man. I got all the right people in the right places to help me in line, but yeah, we don't repeat.
What's the percentage of outfits you keep versus what's turned back in or auctioned off to charity?
So I have a bunch of them right now. We're in the process of getting an auction set up. I don't know. There's some sort of platform we're going to use through WWE to get it done. I just got to get all the suits to these people, and then we're going to get them going. But I'd say, like, percentage-wise, the ones I keep that don't get ripped or just lost somewhere, you're probably looking at, like, I'd say I keep about 60%.
Wow.
Yeah, 60%.
Higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah, well, because I don't wear one every week. Like some weeks when I'm just wrestling and you don't see me, in street clothes or whatever, I don't wear the suit. So it really depends. But yeah, it's a high amount. The closets are filling up.
Seth Rollins, our guest on OutKick 360. You've been in the WWE now for like a decade, right?
10 years, a little over 10 years. Yeah, I started on television with the Shield in November of 2012.
Does it feel like it's been 10 years?
In some ways, yes. In other ways, it feels like it was just yesterday when we got started. So it's been a wild decade. I can't believe that I've been on WWE television for a decade. I was with the company for 2 years prior to that in our developmental system in NXT. So it's been 12 years really with WWE. I've been with them longer than I wasn't by quite a wide margin, which is staggering to me to think about. I don't know where the time goes.
And think about the ride with over that decade with you, with Roman, Moxley, let's throw him in there too. I mean, the three of you from that debut until now has been quite the just the rise. You haven't had the ups and downs, really.
I mean, there's always some downs. Maybe not for Roman, but for the other ones, we've had our share of a roller coaster. But I've been very fortunate to use some of those little dips as catapults to the next.
The injuries and things you're talking about.
Yeah, injuries, or you see it as this, right? But when you're inside of it, it doesn't feel that way. It feels a lot like this. And I've had the injury, Moxley's gone up and down. He switched promotions and had to figure out what he wanted to do for himself. Obviously, Roman with the leukemia diagnosis a few years back had to overcome that to be able to come back and be where he's at. So there's been a lot that's gone on in the last 10 years. But at the end of the day, we had one goal, one mission when we debuted, and that was to redefine the industry. And over the last decade, I dare say we've accomplished that in spades.
You get into double-digit years now, how does your standing within the company change and evolve over those 10 years? Not just your ups and downs with injuries or anything else, but in terms of where you feel like you're at now in the context of the company.
Yeah, I had an epiphany the other week. I was having a conversation with John Cena about some stuff, and I had realized I'm about the same age now, actually a year or two older, as John was when I first came into the company. And John was the top dog. And he was one of the guys who would sit at the monitor and watch every match. And, people would ask him for advice and all that. And now I find myself in that position, sitting at the monitor at every live event, watching every match, and having opinions. And I don't know when that shift happened. I don't know when it became that for me, but it's truly an honor to be sort of in that position and to see all these young guys and girls coming up, looking at me with any amount of esteem, thinking, I go, they can't feel about me the way I felt about John. There's no way that's true. But on some level, it must be, which is pretty mind-boggling to me.
Do you think even John ever knew that's the way people viewed him? I feel like if you're in those shoes,
no,
it's hard to understand that.
That's the thing. I think you're right. I don't think when you're in those shoes you ever feel that sense of, oh, I'm supposed to be this guy. It's something that, and I know for John, it wasn't ever a thought like, oh, I have to do this. It was just that's what he saw. He saw guys like Undertaker, saw guys like Triple H. He saw other guys, people who did that, Shawn Michaels, who did that same thing, and he always just emulated what they did and wanted to help the next generation be better. And so I dare say I sort of just saw the same thing in John, and here we are a decade later, and now I'm trying to pass on whatever information, whatever good knowledge I've got up in this brain, to the next guys and girls who are going to be here long after I'm gone.
Seth Rollins, our guest on OutKick 360. Cody Rhodes puts you in the top 3 of pro wrestlers right now in the world.
Put himself above me, I believe.
He does. He did, and he has Roman number 1.
Yeah.
When he wrestled with the torn pec, you were the opponent.
Indeed.
What was that night like? You've wrestled through injuries. The top guys do that. But for him, I mean, he's, you can see the blood coming through the, you know what I mean? Like the bruised up stuff. It looked awful. And somehow he was cleared to go out and wrestle that night. It was an epic moment. And now he's back with a chance to regain what he was after at the time before he had to miss, nearly a year or something, right?
Yeah, that would have been in June or something like that, maybe May or June. So yeah, I mean, it was a long hiatus, 8-9 months, something like that.
How difficult do you think that was on him, pain-wise?
I mean, pain-wise, I imagine it was pretty excruciating. I think a lot. I've been in matches where I've gotten hurt and finished, and I've wrestled many matches with injuries that I probably shouldn't have competed in. But I think that is a different level because visually, it's so startling. It was so startling visually that I think even I've never watched the match back, but I think even for the audience in Chicago, it took the breath out of the arena for a little while, almost like they were watching a car crash, right? It was like you can't take your eyes away, but you feel like you shouldn't be watching what's happening. And so as the match went on, obviously you got to, you get a little more accustomed to it, you get more used to it, and then you start to get into the story. And it was a career-defining moment for him. And I know personally from someone who's been at the top of their game and had an injury and had to take time off, that's extremely mentally frustrating. My feeling for him was it was probably harder mentally than it was physically to feel that wave of momentum be ripped away from you and then have to try to grab that on the backside, because there's always the question of, well, what if it never gets to that point for me again? What if I never have that? What if the audience doesn't accept me? What if? And until you go out there and feel it, you're never going to know the answer. You're never going to have that confidence. So I imagine it was a difficult process for him. I don't know, but I imagine.
Well, and separate of you performing hurt at times, how many other times have you been in a situation where you want to go, bro, are you okay? When you're with someone in the ring knowing they're dealing with something and you can visibly see it on their face or in their body that something's not right. Is that something that happens often?
Oh, it's
more often than we know about?
It's so rare. It's so rare. Yeah, I mean, we're at the top of our game professionally, and so everybody's safety is of prime concern. Obviously, accidents happen in the ring. As the old saying goes, it's not ballet, right? So injuries happen. Like I said, I've been there with a broken jaw, separated shoulders, blew my knee out in the middle of a match, obviously. But these things happen. You have to figure out how to move on with them. But, yeah, it's very rare that you're in a situation where somebody's hurt to the point where it's visually like there's a bone popping out of the arm or something like that, where, you try to figure it out. One of the ones that I can remember firsthand, I'm in a match at SummerSlam in Brooklyn with Finn Balor. He's got the demon paint on. I end up power bombing him into a guardrail, and he, trying to protect himself, puts his arm back, pops his shoulder. You don't know the extent of the injury. There's a lot of pain, but there's also a lot of adrenaline going through your body. And I remember having the discussion mid-match about, do we want to keep going and try to do this, or because it was fairly early on in the match, or do we just let's go and get it up,
Yeah.
And so it depends on the type of injury. It's one of those where if it's a, kind of an orthopedic injury, okay, we can probably figure out how to work around it and be as safe as possible. If it's a head injury, that's a different story. Now you can't rely on somebody to make their own decisions for them, and you got to get out of there. You know what I mean? 'Cause you don't know. You don't know. They're not in the right frame of reference. But it is rare. I will say that. It is very rare. I would say I've been doing this for 20 years. I've had 2,000 or more matches, probably somewhere in that neighborhood. I mean, we're talking less than 0.1% of the time that's ever happened.
And you finished that match at SummerSlam, you mentioned?
We did. Finn is a trooper. He's as tough as they come, and he finished the match. Actually, he beat me in that match. So kudos to him.
That's why they finished it.
Yeah, right. If it was going the other way,
I want to keep going.
Get it out of here. Get me out of here. Yeah.
So what you're describing is how I think the common fan like us would say that's paying your dues.
I hope being injured in the ring is not part of paying your dues. Well, but there is a certain toughness that comes along with our
there's a skin on the wall at some point of that, right? Like, and what I'm getting to, what about the newcomers who jump in and are immediately on top? On top meaning getting the push. Logan Paul comes to mind.
Yeah.
I feel like there could be a great rivalry between you two based on the mindset of the business.
So there's, we're obviously heavily juxtaposed on how we entered WWE and how we dipped our toes in this industry. I love this business. It's given me everything I have good in my life. I owe, pretty much my entire life to it. My wife, I got, basically my baby, her education paid for, everything, my family taken care of because of this industry, and I've loved it from a young age. Always been a fan of it. Always wanted to give back to it. Always wanted to leave it better than I found it. Logan Paul, on the other hand, comes in, gets handed opportunities, doesn't really care about the business, doesn't really love our industry, doesn't really seem to love anything but money and himself. And so when I see that and I see that selfishness, it just rubs me the wrong way. right? It just puts me off.
Oh,
There's no other way you can look at it from my perspective and think that it's okay. If he was going to do something for somebody other than himself, we could have a conversation. And maybe he could prove that to me one day. Maybe he can prove me wrong. I'm all about it, But you look at someone like The Miz or someone even like a Pat McAfee, right? Mike, The Miz, was a reality star before this on The Real World. He got into this, via Tough Enough or something along those lines, right? But Mike loves the business. He's paid his dues. Look at him now. Pat McAfee, same thing. And now Pat's got a ways to go, but Pat loves the industry. He shows up, puts in the work. He'd come to SmackDown every single week, do the announcing, and then do the gigs on top of that. Pat he loves it. He wants to give back to it. I don't read that from Logan Paul. That's just not what I get from him. And then to come in, the Royal Rumble, throw me out, which is fine. That's part of the game. But to then go on social media behind my back and try to rub it in my face, I mean, come on, dude. Where's the courage in that? Like, where's
the respect?
Where's any? Yeah, where's
It'd be
the
like
respect?
you going into the world of YouTubing and acting like you knew everything,
Well,
right?
I
And
mean,
taking it from him, and then he would be upset with that.
I
right?
respect his hustle, but dude, like, don't come into our world where passion is key, and then just push the respect out the window. It's just if you did this to the Undertaker, he would have knocked your teeth out of your mouth. And so I may not be the Undertaker. My right hand ain't as good as him, but I got a right boot that says otherwise, and I'd be more than willing to stomp his teeth right out of his mouth. The problem is, dude's all talk. He doesn't want to say anything to my face. He loves to put it on social media, so my rant is complete. The point is, I'm not hard to find.
Well, and I think, personally, we'll find you too at WrestleMania. It makes too much sense. Hollywood, headed out to L.A. I mean,
sounds like an opportunity. I'm the new Mr. WrestleMania. You look at my WrestleMania repertoire, sounds like something he'd be interested in. If he's got the guts, we'll see. I don't know. Right now, he's just bragging about throwing me out of the Royal Rumble. Newsflash, idiot! You also got thrown out of the Royal Rumble.
And it's also the highest grossing WrestleMania already, right? All time, based on the ticket prices.
Yep. And what we've sold.
You would tear the house down with that.
It's going to be. I tear the house down with anybody, bro. Anybody.
That's fair.
You look at my WrestleMania track record. I tear the house down with anybody. If he wants to get in that group, good for him. He can take. That's what he wants to do. So come take, Logan Paul.
Is Vince McMahon back?
I don't know.
So he's not backstage.
No. I haven't seen Vince or spoken with Vince since he retired.
Okay.
Retired.
I've only seen the headlines that he's back, but I haven't
he's
heard
back,
anything.
he's behind the scenes.
Yeah. So from my understanding, he's back to help the shareholder value and broker, a possible sale of the company or whatever is going to be the best avenue for the shareholders as far as negotiating TV rights deals or all the stuff that's way above my pro wrestling brain. So I haven't seen him. I haven't talked to him. I don't know what's going on there.
Final thing for you. You mentioned a new father.
Oh, yeah.
And
2 years now, though. 2 years. Not quite new. I'm starting to feel it out.
How has that changed your travel regimen? I know you and Becky have been on the mend a bit recently with injuries, I'm saying.
Yeah.
For her especially.
Yep.
She's back now.
She's just back.
You take the family's going everywhere? Is that how it works?
We're a traveling circus, baby. She comes with us everywhere we go. The only thing that's made the real biggest change is that we're on the road a little bit longer now because we used to just take early morning flights.
Okay.
And out and in, and now we're flying in a night early so that baby doesn't have to have her kind of pattern disrupted. But she's a trooper, dude. She's been from here to, she's been to Saudi Arabia twice already. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
We took her to Europe for a little tour. She's been unreal, like adaptable. It's amazing. And I'm hoping that, obviously she won't remember these experiences, but one of the cool things was, we had her at the end of 2020 and we went on the road with her in 2021. And so I'm hoping this experience of being around adults and people, especially, we're talking into pandemic here where there wasn't a lot of social interaction. I'm really hoping that helps her development. She's the best though, dude. She's having the time of her life, and we're having the time of our lives being able to take her all over the place and show her cool stuff. And really, she just wants a swing set and a slide. So if we could find that in any town, she's happy.
Maybe I'm being stupid here, but I wonder in the moment, do you realize, like, there are a ton of second and third generation superstars right now?
Yeah.
Do you consciously think, like, we're we're raising the second generation Rollins? You see
Um,
what I'm saying?
Man, you know what? I'm not one for the nepotism. If this is something she
Okay.
wants to do, I'd support her.
Not that you're forcing it, but I mean,
No. I mean, there's always a thought, of course.
Yeah.
Like,
It
oh,
feels
wow.
like she already loves it, the way you describe how adaptable she's been on the road.
Yeah.
There's already something inherent.
I mean, she's an entertainer, that's for sure. I'll say that. She likes being in the ring and running around and she can hit the ropes already. I'll give her that. She's got a good leg drop like her mama. So there's some positives, but if she wants to do it, I'd support her. If she wants to go do something else, I'll support her. I love her no matter what. I'm just excited that we get to have these experiences with her. Not a lot of families get that opportunity to take their 2-year-old on the road everywhere they go globally. So it's the best.
Keep entertaining us, man.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I'm sorry I had to spend half of it talking about that human dumpster fire, Logan Paul. So
it's my fault.
Yeah, you brought him up. That is your fault.
We'll edit that out in post.
That's on him. Yeah,
that'll be taken out in post.
I'm sure you will.
These sunglasses are Seth's fault, though. Hey, pleasure, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Great meeting you.
Appreciate you.
Stay tuned.
Till
More
next
coming from Radio Row. Super Bowl 57. OutKick 360 rolls on.
It's so crazy because Tom Brady is just a touch older than me. I believe now there are no NFL players older than me, which that's the first time in my life I can say that.
Okay.
So now I feel really old. Now I feel truly and really old.
I'm sorry, man. God, that's horrible. I didn't know that feeling. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
there's
I
a punter
apologize.
or a kicker. I'll have to check. Maybe I'm hoping there's like an old, like a long time punter, kicker, or long snapper that's older than me, but I don't think so. And it's amazing to me thinking about Brady the last few years. Like, I know how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I can't even imagine attempting to play in the NFL like this.
Right? Yeah. I mean, well, and I don't even know if last season should have happened, but that's not up for me. It's not for anybody to sit there and argue.
I don't have the drive Tom Brady has. I'm very willing to admit that.
Right.
It seemed to me, just as an outsider with no inside information whatsoever, that he retired and that he engaged in normal life for the first time in a long time. Was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm getting back to the NFL.
I don't like the daycare thing. I love my kids, but I don't like dropping it off. I don't want to go play pickleball at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, let's get back to normal. But it'd be interesting. Like, I don't know if we'll see another quarterback take it that far, Andy, in the NFL. Like, he really pushed the limits,
Rodgers,
right?
Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers going to be 39. You got him hinting at retirement now, and it does feel like the game's maybe taking a little more toll on his body than Brady. Maybe there's some ayahuasca that'll fix that, but it's crazy that it lasted this long. I mean, I think back to how much my life, I graduated college in 2000 and, working my first job, watching Tom Brady lead the Patriots when they were the underdogs to the win against the Rams in the Super Bowl and thinking, well, that's a cool story. 6th-round guy, hope the career works out for him. And the level of winning and just consistency, I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
No. And I don't, especially with a quarterback who has that tenacity, he also puts in everything into the game. Like, it's like he can't take a breather. And it just, he has a different workflow. It kind of reminded me of what Kobe Bryant used to do in the NBA. Or you can go on and name them on.
Yeah.
But now, but I'm interested to see now, what that looks like in the future, and does this, and I'll ask you this because this news could break while we're down here in Mobile. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. Does this make room for him now to potentially say, okay, I can go to Tampa. We can go find a quarterback that works for me in my system and maybe take over the offensive coordinator position? What have your thoughts been on the Monken Buccaneer stuff?
Are you ready for Stetson Bennett as the Buccaneers starting quarterback? Are we ready to live in a world where Stetson Bennett makes that pirate ship go boom? Can
I'm
that
excited.
happen?
It can in the 6th round.
It's very interesting because, Monken, I think, you look at that tenure with Jameis Winston in Tampa, it didn't go as well as anybody would have wanted. And maybe Monken going, well, if I had a different quarterback, one who didn't put the ball in harm's way as often, perhaps that works out.
Back in Arizona, glad you're with us across the OutKick Network. Hutton Withrow with you, OutKick 360, joined by Ross Tucker, the man of many hats. You can hear him on the color commentary for so many different football games. And
CBS on college, Westwood One on NFL. I do the Eagles preseason games, Eagles pregame. It's a long con to try to avoid a real job as long as I possibly can. I mean, that's basically the gig. Yeah.
Well done, You were terrific on the Army-Navy game. I was driving around and had to listen to almost the entire second half and overtime, but great job with that.
Thank you so much for saying that, man. So first of all, I love when anybody compliments me, period, but like
we all
that,
do.
Yeah, thank you. That game, though, that's my single favorite day of the year. It's funny because we were talking earlier about Clay and what he's doing now. That's like the one. So I don't pay attention to politics or even news at all because it's just so negative. I'm just not into it.
Yeah.
You guys will see in the next 5 minutes. I'm a very positive person. But I'm aware of like how divisive these times are and like the political polarization. If you want to feel really good about the United States, go to the Army-Navy game. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like the fact that what other game do you have every member of the student body for both schools? They have to be there. It's mandatory. So they're in the two corners. They create so much energy, and you just feel like, okay, Army hates Navy, Navy hates Army, but there's very much this understanding that we're all actually on the same team.
It's real life.
I wish like we could realize that in real life. Like there's Republicans, there's Democrats. We're all actually still Americans. Like that's the team. And at least that day you feel that way. That day you feel like we're all on the same side.
It's bucket list,
when you're listening or you're watching, and we've been there a couple times, but I'm always thinking, no, we're going to be okay.
Yeah,
I think ultimately
that's
we're going to be okay. If these are going to be our leaders, then we're going to be okay when I'm watching those cadets and midshipmen.
I do every Army home game for CBS. So I meet with them Friday mornings, at least 2 players. That's the exact vibe I get every time. Like I meet with these young men, and these are guys, imagine being 17, okay, and you have like 5 or 6 scholarship offers. And it's not Tennessee and Florida, but, I mean, a lot of these guys could go to Middle Tennessee. Mm-hmm. They could go to Western Kentucky. They choose.
They could go be a college kid.
Yeah, for free. For free. They choose and sign up for 9 years, 4 years in college, 5 years commitment of like a very different college life. I don't know, where'd you guys go to school?
Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
You nailed it.
Yeah, a very different experience than what we had.
Yes.
Okay? A very, very, like, girls, parties, like the whole deal. I'm just like in awe of these kids. Oh, there's LeVar Arrington. I got 3 stitches in my ear from that guy right there. It's always nice to see something like that.
Payback.
He swung, we got in a fight, and I was like punching him, and I thought I was getting the better of it, and he was just grabbing at my helmet. He got my helmet off, and he swung it at me as hard as he could. Thank goodness he missed. Like, I would have died. I mean, you can't get hit in the helmet by someone like that. Yeah. So he missed, and then they came over and they break up the fight and they pin your arms like this. So I'm pinned like this, and LeVar gets his right arm out and hits me with a right hook, left side of my ear, split the top of my ear. Blood just comes flowing out. I didn't miss any of the practice. My O-line coach is mad at me. Kim Helton, Clay Helton's dad,
yes,
he's mad at me because I lost the fight. So I'm 23 years old. Now I'm killing people. Now I'm mad. I go in after practice. They put 3 stitches in my ear, and they X-ray my hand. I hit them so many times in the helmet, and it was so brutal. They thought I might have broke my hand. So I'm dating my wife at the time. She's living in New York City, working in finance. And I'm driving home, and I call her, and I'm like, how was your day? And she's like, oh, my gosh, you would not believe what Samantha said at lunch. Samantha at lunch was talking about that. And I'm just like, okay. She's like, how was your day? I was like, well, I almost died. They thought I broke my hand, and I got 3 stitches in my ear. But tell me more about what Samantha said at lunch.
Have you had a chance to talk to LeVar about this since it happened?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I say, can we do this on air?
No. He and I are friends, actually. What I say now is it's just a great story.
Oh, absolutely. I loved it. Hey, tell us about Simple Bet. This is something a little bit different where you can do almost anything over the course of the game.
I'm so mad that I didn't hear about this till 2 weeks ago or whatever when they reached out to me. It's live betting, but it's based on the action going on. So you can bet on every play. Like, you can bet, not only can you bet run or pass, you can bet if the next Mahomes pass is over 9.5 yards or under 9.5 yards. You can bet every drive. So like the NFC Championship game, I was telling you guys off the air, you could have been absolutely hammering the Niners are going to punt on this drive because they couldn't do anything. Or the Niners are going to run the ball. They say Chris Bevilacqua, the CEO, is walking around with me. He was saying the biggest sport is baseball, which makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I could sit through a 9-inning baseball game.
It's a great
But
pace
if I'm
for that.
sitting there, if I've got like a beer in my left hand and in my right hand I'm on the DraftKings app and I'm, in the live in-game betting, you just hit in-game, and I can bet on like whether it's a strikeout or a walk on the next at-bat, or I can bet on each pitch. He said some of their biggest bets they've had so far were Aaron Judge at the end of the baseball season, people betting walk. Because, they kept pitching around him because they didn't want to break the record. People were just betting walk like crazy, and they were making a lot of money from it. So you guys know, you're young guys, but even younger people, they are so used to, TikTok and Instagram Reels at this point. They're not going to just sit there, bro, and watch a 3-hour game.
Yeah, they need it right there.
They need to feel like they are actively involved in what's going on. So right now it's at DraftKings, Caesars, and Bet365. So all 3 of them for the Super Bowl, you can bet on every play as you're watching. It's nuts.
Awesome. Ross, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'd love to come on with you guys again sometime.
Let's do it.
Keep killing it, man. Keep
Same
killing
to you,
it,
man. Coming to a broadcast near you is Ross Tucker, and it does a great job as a game analyst from preseason, regular season in the NFL with the Eagles, and, of course, with college football. Coming up a bit later in the show, we will be joined by Charlie Gasparano. We're going to discuss the sale that's going to happen for the Washington Commanders and how soon, plus more guests from Radio Row still to come at our broadcast site. Chad, it's been fun. It's been a great start so far. And
how cool is Ross?
Ross is awesome.
I love the LeVar Arrington story also.
Yeah. Right as LeVar walked by, and he's standing over here right now. That's cool. And they just said hello as they walked off. The storyline of the week, there's plenty of them. But on the field, Patrick Mahomes and the ankle. He's not 100%.
No.
But based off what I've seen, what we've seen in the AFC Championship game, I'm not buying into this being a big issue come kickoff. Another 2 weeks has passed, and we saw what he just did against the Bengals.
Well, he looked good against Cincinnati. So I keep going back to that performance and thinking how unlikely that was, given the time, to recover from what we saw against Jacksonville. And he's not 100%, but it's weird that we're getting ready for this game, and we opened the show talking about different matchups and what to watch and which team can rush the other with just 4 guys and what's coverage going to look like. But we didn't really ask any questions about Mahomes' ankle. And that's because what we just saw against Cincinnati, combined with 2 weeks to get ready for it. So he's going to favor it at times. You know, the big concern I would have for him would be that first, landing on it wrong, getting hit on it. How does that affect it? But Hutton, I feel like he's going to look close to 100%. He's not. But from what we saw and the toughness of Patrick Mahomes, I do feel like he's gonna look the part in this game, and we're not going to be asking a lot of questions about that ankle.
Roger Goodell held the State of the NFL Union today, so to speak, and the big quote that's making the rounds, and I'm taking one small quote out of what's going to be a long press conference on NFL officiating, Chad. For us, when you look at officiating, I don't think it's ever been better in the league. That from Roger Goodell after what we saw in the NFC and AFC championship games. They better hope that they don't have the same type of performance from Carl Sheffer's crew, his all-star crew, that will be taking the field as the 3rd member of the Super Bowl rosters. Because the discussion after the championship weekend, Chad, it wasn't about the winners, it was about the officiating.
Yeah, and is the league fixed? People asking that stupid question. I wish Roger Goodell, well, he may be right. Officiating may be better than it's ever been. I don't buy that. But you got to acknowledge those games, as high profile as they were not completely executed to a level that you would want a conference championship game to be executed. So let's come to grips with that. If you're Roger Goodell, let's put that out there and then say, while I think officiating is very good, we do need to be better in certain areas. And when your highest profile games of the year, and we're talking about the final 3, championship weekend, Super Bowl Sunday, when 2 of the games on championship Sunday, there's technical errors throughout the game or procedural errors throughout the game, that's not a good thing. Well, that's not something to harp on.
And what he can point to, though, in his favor, in the league's favor, is, as far as the standard is concerned, there is no higher standard than what the NFL officials are held to. Plenty of complaints across college athletics at the highest level, and the SEC, for instance. So I understand where he's coming from on, how much goes into making sure that the standard is met. But when it's not, and it's so glaringly not met in the biggest matchups of the weekend for each conference, I'm with you. There needs to be more acknowledgement of it. But here's the other truth. If on Monday we're talking about the game and not the officiating, no one's going to discuss championship weekend again because it's not going to be the storyline. It's going to be about the great matchup.
Yeah, I think we were talking to Armando Salguero about that, and he said, if the last game is officiated poorly, or no, Mike Pereira.
We had on,
and he said he roots for that more than anything else, that you don't get in a situation where there's problems in the Super Bowl because that's all you talk about.
Right.
That is the lasting impression. I think you're right, Hutton. I don't know that it goes away. I'm not going to put it to the level of what happened with the Saints on the pass interference that year against the Rams and how that made a rule change the next year. But we did remember that, and it wasn't a Super Bowl. I do think that a quiet, good game, and by quiet I mean we're not, complaining about the officiating in the end, that's going to do a lot to have a quieter offseason in regards to the officials.
Derek Carr, he's actually been granted permission to go ahead and start speaking to a team. There will soon be more teams. But according to CBS Sports last night, and this was through NFL.com as well, the Saints have been granted permission through the Raiders and through Carr's team to go ahead and begin inquiring about the either free agent or trade quarterback that's going to take place. That'd be a great landing spot. He's 31 years old. They'd be trading him to the NFC. The division makes sense.
It's an upgrade for the Saints.
It's absolutely. And look, the Raiders are looking for an opportunity to get something in return for a quarterback they're going to end up cutting anyway. So if you're going to grant permission, and you can find the team that's willing to pay him, this is the logical choice. It's just odd to me that they haven't granted this prior to yesterday.
What does this make the Saints? You know, that's my big question. It's an upgrade for them at quarterback, but
I mean,
with their defense, that division now.
Defense, division.
The division's a bonus, obviously.
Kamara, Chris Olave, Mike Thomas is out of there. Chris Olave.
They're the favorite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put them up top. Carolina's a nice young team, new head coach. They don't have a quarterback. They could also, I mean, the NFC South actually makes a lot of sense for Derek Carr.
Yeah.
In all the spots.
Yeah.
The entire division.
What is Desmond Ridder going to be in Atlanta? That's a big question.
Yeah, but I mean, we were already discussing upgrades for what they could pay a quarterback, what they tried to do with Watson last year.
Yeah.
In Atlanta.
What if he just goes through the division now? Hey, I've been granted permission to go to the Saints. Now I'll go to the Bucs, Carolina, Atlanta, and I'll pick between the NFC South.
And Tampa.
He's definitely an upgrade for all four of those teams within the division.
Yes, and you know Josh Jacobs is also going to be a free agent unless he's tagged, and I don't think that's going to be the case. He's been linked. There's rumors circulating about Miami in the run game. They want to improve drastically in their backfield. Mike McDaniel, run game coordinator in San Francisco, now the head coach. Josh Jacobs, who has cashed in this season and another prove-it season for a player in the AFC. Here is Jacobs with what would be a great spot for him, given the offense, given what's going to happen defensively with Vic Fangio, and the fact that they need to find some semblance of a run game, which will also in turn protect their quarterback, which is going to be Tua Tagovailoa, according to Miami, if you believe them.
I really like that possibility for Miami to improve the run game with Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr is fascinating because once Brady was off the board, we immediately went to Aaron Rodgers, and for obvious reasons. Well, now he's going to be in an isolation chamber for 4 days before he makes his decision.
Now's the time for Carr to cash in.
Yeah, now it's Derek Carr, right? I mean, now he's kind of the guy that teams are going to evaluate and look at as an upgrade at quarterback.
Well, and now who's going to be the surprise mover at QB for a team this offseason? You know, Ryan Tannehill could be traded.
Yeah, who's going to be the Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford move?
Right.
This offseason.
Yeah, aside from Carr, who we know is not going to be a part of the Vegas Raiders.
One of these teams trading up to get a quarterback early that's going to let go of a guy that we think is pretty solidly in place as their guy right now.
Jimmy G is going to be available.
Yep.
We know that. And Aaron Rodgers on the move. Man, all the discussion, it does not sound like he's coming back like it did last year. This isn't just a money move. He's due roughly $60 million. If it's a money move, you stay.
You don't think he's going to play?
No, I'm saying he's going to play. It doesn't feel like last year where all of the talk and discussion was about getting paid.
Yeah.
If you want to continue to just grab the bag, then you take the $60 million that's due to year two.
He could do that.
And it sounds like he's going to be on San Fran.
I just think he wants to go somewhere else.
Yeah, me too.
My thought is he's done with Green Bay and he wants to go play somewhere else and try it and see if he can win another Super Bowl elsewhere.
And
that's the goal. And 4 days of isolation. Those are the two offseason goals for Aaron Rodgers.
Raiders and Jets, man. Raiders and Jets.
Both make a lot of sense.
Coming up, we discussed the Washington Commanders. Daniel Snyder, potential sell, Jeff Bezos, and more. We've got the headlines regarding all of that with Charles Gasparino from Fox Business and the details of how soon we could see a sell of the NFL franchise, and it's going to set records. The question is, what's it going to go for? That's next on OutKick 360.
I witnessed, Dennis Price and C-Spray and all these people just do such amazing things, and we continue to get asked about Afghanistan and what we didn't do in Ukraine. Like, why would you, beyond Aziz, it's no brainer why I would go help Aziz. Why would we continue to help these people? And I think the easy answer is the right thing to do. When the governments of the world completely failed, including our own, it was very discouraging. But what brought me hope was to see that when the governments of the world failed, good people stood up and did what the governments wouldn't do and couldn't probably do, and did the right thing. And that was really encouraging for me, because I think all of us kind of struggle with hope in our country right now because of the political divide, and things that we don't agree with. But it was really hopeful to see that when the governments don't do the right thing, people do. And one of the things myself and C-Spray were asking this in this interview was, why would you do it? And of course we said, because it's the right thing to do. But C-Spray was asked a question that I think is important that we can all learn from. He was asked, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And he said, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And whether it's something like this or in your personal lives, like I think we all have the ability to do the right thing in our own little spheres of our life. And we always try to balance the ROI, like what are we going to get out of it? What's the return on investment? But it doesn't always have to be worth it to do the right thing. And in this case, I don't know if it was worth it or not. I thought it was worth it to Aziz and his family and the 17,000 Afghans. And I believe that burden God put in our heart. I think it was worth it to God for us to be obedient and go do that call. But I think the world can learn something from this, that there is hope, that there's good people around who will stand up and do the right things. People that supported us were not people that I typically agree with. There's a lot of people that follow me on Instagram that hate me and bash me for my conservative views and stuff like that. But they were writing me like, hey, I don't like you, but what you're doing is awesome. And where can I support? Where can I give money? And it was so cool. And we had this Jewish organization that they wanted to pay for 2 planes, which was like $1.5 million, a big donation. And they called me back and they said, hey, we tried to make the donation, but we can't do it. And I was like, oh, why? Did I give you the wrong routing number or something? And they said, no, we're a Jewish organization. And Mighty Oaks Foundation, my foundation, is a Christian organization. And we can't give you that money. And I said, okay, but you do realize we're rescuing Muslims, right? And we kind of laughed and moved forward and they made that donation. It was just an amazing moment in time where politics, religion, like nothing else mattered besides good people standing up and do the right thing for other people. And it'll always be like just super special to me to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the whole thing. And like I said to the audience, go ahead and get the book, Saving Aziz. You can get it anywhere you want to get books. It's an incredible story, and I think it's something young people especially should learn about. And everyone, because it does go to show that there's good people. Everyone wants to be at each other's throats these days. That's kind of what the media teaches you to do. Hate each other. Everyone's a villain. If you disagree, you have to hate. Not true. Not true at all. So I think your story represents that you can, a lot of good out there. Now on the Ukraine, because I do want to talk about this because the war is ongoing. What was your experience when it comes to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it's changed. It's changed since I began. It started in February. We had ceasefires on the ground before the invasion because we knew it was coming. We were watching it unfold. And then I went immediately after the invasion. I was in Ukraine, days after the invasion. And originally we went there to see, hey, how can we help? Afghanistan is a lot different. People couldn't go in Afghanistan and load up mass amounts of people to get them out. We were able to do that. Ukraine, people could drive a bus across the border, open the door, load it up and get people out. So the mass evacs were not something we needed to do. And, one of the things about special operations is you do what's special, you do what other people can't.
We're back. OutKick 360. We'll get Hutton's headset figured out here. I don't know if it's off or volume's just down. But we are going to be joined by a special guest right now, Hutton,
back.
Fox business analyst. We're going to talk about some big news out there.
Yes, Charlie Gasparino joins us from Fox Business Network with some news, Charlie, on the potential sale, what will be a sale of the Washington Commanders. What can you tell us?
Probably. We should point out that, I don't know if he has to sell. Okay, now the pressure is on him to sell because of all the controversial surrounding, the investigation that's going on. There's congressional pressure. We don't have to relitigate that. You guys know that story better than I do, involving Dan. When I say he, meaning Dan Snyder, the principal owner of the Redskins. Full disclosure, I know Dan. I really like Dan. He's always been great to me. I do feel badly for him and his wife, who are essentially good people. That, as far as I know, I will say this though: the league believes this thing is going to sell sometime after the Super Bowl, and sometime before the owners' meeting in March. Okay, so that's where they're eyeing the date, right around there. There is an investment banker hired, Bank of America, so they're looking at bids. In the end, I think, when I talk to people who know Dan Snyder, they tell me they just think he's sick of the bullshit, to be quite honest with you. They're sick of the relentless media negative coverage. He's sick of all these stories, with a lot of it with innuendo about what he knew or didn't know, involving sexual harassment inside the organization, while he's the owner. He's got a family, he's got a wife that he loves, and he kind of just, if he can get $7 billion for this thing, he just might take the money and run and move somewhere. He already sold his house, as you know. A lot of people say he wants to move to London. Maybe he wants to buy a sports franchise over there, or a soccer team or something. Who knows? Remember, he bought it for less than $1 billion, from what I remember, something like $700 million. So the question becomes, who could buy it? I mean, these are the names that are being floated. Now, I'm not saying they're interested, because I haven't spoken to these people, although I did put a call into Jeff Bezos, but we'll get to him in a second. These are the names I hear. Josh Harris, he runs that private equity firm. The name escapes me, but it owns the Philadelphia 76ers as well, and some other properties, they could do it. Someone told me John Henry, the former, I think he's now the former owner, right, of the Red Sox. He might be interested. And then there's the aforementioned Bezos, who, everybody keeps throwing water on the Bezos thing, but I'm telling you, senior people inside the NFL believe that he may not be a bidder initially, but he may come. He doesn't want to get in the bidding war. That's one thing he doesn't want to do, get into that type of distraction. But he may come down in the end and do what Steve Cohen did, put a lot of money down and say, with the Mets. Remember, Steve Cohen came in and said, "Here's my offer. It's cash, and I, kind of take it or leave it at some point, and usually you take it." And so, and why is Bezos interested in that? Well, a lot of people say he's a football fan, but his girlfriend, I think they're still that's still his girlfriend. They're not married. Lauren Sanchez, his girlfriend is a big football fan. As you know, she dated Tony Gonzalez back in the day, and so. And by the way, just so you know, this is not like water cooler speculation. There's speculation and there's speculation. This is coming from significant people inside with ties to the league. People in business capacities that deal with all the major players that I've mentioned. So this is not 6 degrees of separation. Figure this is 1 and 2 degrees of separation in terms of my sourcing. Again, as someone who's covered Wall Street for as long as I have, let me just make this point. You can chime in. Someone who's covered Wall Street as long as I have, and deals, people talking to companies talking. It's never a deal till you see the paper. Okay, so there's a lot of things that could prevent any of this from happening. Just so you know, where he might just sit on this for a while. That's always a potentiality in any sort of deal making scenario. Go ahead,
Charlie. The rivalry between Bezos and Snyder is also interesting here. And the fact that Bezos could just offer so much that Snyder acquiesces to the money, that's another intriguing aspect to follow, especially considering how much Bezos would want to be an owner in the league.
Yeah, I mean, apparently they don't like each other, right? But does that ever? Is that if someone's going to write you a check for $7 billion, you might forget about any insult on the past. I know I would, but and Dan bought it for like 500, 600, 700, something like that. 700 million to 7 billion is a really nice payday, and again. I haven't spoken to him directly, but I know people that have. I think he's tired of the bullshit. I think, he feels that a lot of this stuff that's swirling around about him, as serious as charges are, as they relate to him, is full of innuendo. It's hurting his family. He's got a wife and kids, and he doesn't need it. You know what I'm saying? He's got a nice yacht. He's got some money, and he can just do his thing.
Charlie Gasparino has been our guest. Charlie, thank you for the insight here, and again, with your report on the sell that's likely just over the horizon past Super Bowl Sunday. We appreciate you.
Stay tuned. There'll be more turns of the screw on this one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no doubt. We look forward to having you on again soon. There's Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business Network.
We got a big final hour of the show ahead for us. Jim McMahon, and Kyle Turley will join us to kick things off. One of our favorites, LeGarrette Blount, always blunt with his assessment of everything.
3-time Super Bowl champ.
Is going to join us. Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, will be here live with us on Radio Row. We got plenty left on today's show. I'm excited about it.
It's going to be fun, and headlines as well as it develops. As more come out of the Goodell presser. Haley Caranilla is going to the Gronk press conference. Anything you want her to ask Gronk?
I didn't know Gronk was having a press conference. So my first question to Haley would be, what is this Gronk press conference?
Well, it's the Kick of Destiny thing with FanDuel that you like so much.
Oh, yeah, it's a great idea.
It's also
a terrific
It's a great play
idea.
on Tenacious D, Pick of Destiny.
It is, yes. I'm a big Tenacious D fan as well. They've got a good song in the Croods 2 New Age soundtrack that my 7-year-old likes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a play, I think, on a Tom Jones song in that, but it's terrific. So we really tie it all in. Tenacious D, Rob Gronkowski kicking a field goal, and possibly people winning money because of that. We got a lot going on in this final hour.
Looking forward to it. And again, we lead it off with Kyle Turley and Jim McMahon, who will be with us to kick off hour number 3. Stay tuned. A lot more coming from Radio Row. Super Bowl 57 coverage across the OutKick network with OutKick 360.
College football's in trouble. There's a lot of people trying to keep it from happening.
I think it's a general consensus across the college football landscape. We want to play football.
College football is a huge part of the fall. It's a huge part of Americana itself.
It just really felt like people in the country needed college football to just feel a little sense of normal.
Big news from the Big Ten as the conference releasing its 10-game football schedule.
We go home thinking that we're going to be practicing the next day. Everybody gets a text, stay home, everything's canceled.
Big Ten fall football season has been canceled.
We just believe collectively there's too much uncertainty.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, though, Kevin, is that was the same position you had 6 days ago.
The Big Ten is an unmitigated disaster.
There was a ton of confusion. There was presidents saying one thing, there was coaches saying another.
Players had to be silent, coaches had to be silent, ADs had to be silent.
People said, how does what you just did make any sense?
And nobody really knew what the heck happened when they voted to cancel the season.
You make this huge historical announcement, and then Kevin Warren never does a press conference to explain it. It was like a masterclass in how not to handle a crisis.
The word really that was lacking in all this is transparency.
It felt like a lot of stuff was happening behind closed doors.
Even today, we still don't know what occurred.
So you don't tell us parents, that's fine. But you're not telling the young men that it affects.
We have to make a decision to save the season. What about the history books? What about the rivalry games? What about Paul Bunyan's axe? How is that not going to go to a team this year?
This is a failure of epic magnitude. The Big Ten presidents and leaders should be held accountable for the disastrous decisions that they're making.
Then the commissioner doubles down, saying his decision will not be revisited.
And that's the point. It felt like a war was declared on the Big Ten and Kevin Warren.
Everything turned political.
Because if this is medical, then you would have stopped the game of football a long time ago.
I think the Big Ten leaders will tell you that they probably made a mistake in hindsight.
If I had the chance to do it all over last year, I would make the same decisions that we made.
Just like that, the final hour is here. OutKick 360 Wednesday edition. Live on Radio Row, Super Bowl 57. And per my request, Chad has moved over next to me. Thank you, Chad.
Hutton, I felt so distant from you this entire show, so I thought no better way to kick off the final hour on our first day here in Phoenix than sliding basically into your lap for this segment. We kid. Well, not really. I did want to be closer to Hutton, but we've got two, not one, but two great guests headed our way here within any minute. So had to make way for Kyle Turley and Jim McMahon, who will be joining us shortly, and I get to get closer to Jonathan Hutton.
That's right. Some great stories headed your way here on the show. Plus, LeGarrette Blount will join us coming up this hour as well. Michael Irvin has been pulled off of the Super Bowl 57 coverage for NFL Network after a report of misconduct towards a woman. And this happened at the hotel. He says he isn't sure what he did wrong to get pulled from there. He said, honestly, I'm a bit baffled with it all. But the report, according to the Dallas Morning News, a woman at Irvin's hotel made a complaint about the Hall of Famer following an encounter with him on Sunday. Not exactly clear what happened, at least as of yet, but in a statement to the Dallas Morning News, NFL Network says Michael Irvin will not be part of the NFL Network's Super Bowl 57 week coverage.
Crazy story.
Have you noticed that the NFL Network doesn't have a big presence here? They don't have the big set here this year.
Yeah, I did notice that. And they must be by the stadium.
No, I think they're in L.A. I think they stayed in L.A.
Really?
Yes.
That shocks me, especially being as close as we are.
I agree.
To L.A. right now in Phoenix. It's a weird story. I'd feel like you'd kind of, even if you didn't agree with someone, canceling you on the broadcast, you'd sort of know, okay, this is what I said that would have caused this, right?
Well, he's so Irvin said we shook hands, then I left. That's all I know. Honestly, I'm a bit baffled with it all. This all happened in a 45-second conversation in the lobby. When I got back after going out, I came to the lobby. I talked to somebody. I talked to this girl. I don't know her, and I talked to her for about 45 seconds. That to the Dallas Morning News via Michael Irvin. We haven't heard the end of this.
But the girl in the lobby worked for NFL Network?
No.
Is she an employee? No?
No, she just filed a complaint with the hotel saying that something happened as at the hotel he was staying at Sunday.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like you'd know what went down. He's probably not telling us the full extent of the story, but that's bad news for Michael Irvin. And it is crazy that you're right. I'm kind of looking around the room here at Radio Row, and I do not see what normally is a huge NFL Network setup for their every television show they have on. So we don't have that presence this year. Hutton, do you think that Jalen Hyatt is going to have presence in the first round of the NFL draft?
Yes. Well, yes, if he runs what he says he's going to run.
4.29.
4.29, which he wants to be sub 4.3 because that puts him in a category with possibly maybe 1-2 other receivers in the draft, and there's usually only one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're running that, you have, and you're a second round grade, high second round grade, you're into the first round just based on your traits and the speed alone. Because you pair that with what he did as the Biletnikoff Award winner, regardless of size, if you've got that speed to what he told us earlier, it doesn't really matter about his size if he's going to. What do you say? You got to catch me first.
Yeah, I asked
4.29 proves that statement.
Yeah, we went through.
Is he that fast?
He's fast.
I know he's fast.
4.29. I don't know.
Chris Johnson fast, which is 4.28.
He was a world-class sprinter in high school, I know, in the state of South Carolina. I don't know that he's that fast. He is training here in Scottsdale.
Yes.
So he told us off air he's doing all of his training here. So, yeah, I mean, if he runs that, he's going to be a first-round pick. And I threw the things out that I think, look, if I'm a GM and I'm thinking about investing a first-round pick on Jalen Hyatt, what do I want to know about? Are you too small? You know, are you going to respond to press coverage you're going to get in the NFL? And then the whole thing about you're honest about it, but why? Why did you not work as hard the previous year? Why was there a disconnect with Josh Heupel and then suddenly a light switch went on and it worked? And while that 1 year was terrific and he was the Biletnikoff Award winner, why just the 1 year? You know, is this going to be a consistent thing with you now that you're going to show up and work this hard? I believe the guy. You know, I have no reason not to. He was very believable.
Genuine.
Yeah, you know, we talked with Kayvon Thibodeau a year ago, and what was our big takeaway? I don't know if this is a work and the guy's playing us, or if this is like play acting or what's happening. I didn't feel that way with Jalen Hyatt. I felt like he was being very real and honest about what he did at Tennessee to not work as hard the previous year.
Turns out Thibodeau was being real, though.
Yeah.
Based on his performance.
I think he was.
But the difference was there was an arrogance about Kayvon Thibodeau that we questioned because, I mean, the guy already was sizing up his Pro Football Hall of Fame jacket, as he said here on Radio Row, before he was even drafted.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's why I believe we question him more than your typical top 5 pick. But he backed it up with the Giants.
No, he did in his rookie year, no doubt. And I think Jalen Hyatt's going to back it up. If I had to guess right now, what is Jalen Hyatt going to be as an NFL player? He's going to be really good. I mean, I saw enough this year, and there was a lot of promise even when he got to Tennessee. He didn't really deliver on that early on. It was because of a bad offense under Jeremy Pruitt. But then once it clicked, I see every little thing I need to see from him. And in terms of a guy who can just blow the top off a defense, he is that. Now, is he going to be on every level of the secondary receiver consistently in the NFL? He's got to get to that. I don't know that right now, that he's going to be that in day one, but he's a guy right now who can burn a defense. I think right when he gets to the NFL, he's going to be that guy.
So here's the question I would have to ask if I'm just comparing the 2 wide receivers from Tennessee that are in this draft at the top, Jalen Hyatt and Tillman. Tillman feels like a guy that's going to be very consistent week in and week out, that's going to give you the same type of production across the board. Hyatt feels like he's going to give you a monster performance in about 6 games in a season. Is that fair?
No, I think that's fair.
Size, speed, again, breakaway speed, game breaker type talent. Tillman feels more like the possession guy that's going to move the chains. He's better than that, but move the chains and be one of the go-to players for your quarterback. And he's not being talked about nearly enough or to the same extent because he's not going to run the same type of speed. But given the traits, to me, I'd rather have the guy that's going to be there week in and week out that you're going to be able to count on instead of the not flash of the pan, but the guy that's going to show up once a month.
Look, odds are one of these guys will not work out based on potential. And I just say that with any team. There's not a lot of teams in college football that produce 2 NFL stars
That's right.
at one position, right? That played at the same time, come out in the same year. Maybe Ohio State's got a little bit of that receiver, right now with what they've done in the NFL. But you're not typically going to have that. I do think, though, so I say all that to say, it feels like both these guys are going to be good. I think Tillman's going to be a steal for someone. He seems like a late second, third round pick.
Yes.
To me, a second day pick that is going to absolutely hit for someone. But just based on his size, he's got some speed too. He doesn't have, world-class speed like Jalen Hyatt, but he's going to be a difference maker for someone. And he can high point the ball.
Yeah.
He can make the combat catches like Coach Mack talks to us about.
And he wants the ball in the big moment. That's the other trait that you have to be able to find if you're the general manager, diamond in the rough, so to speak, in late rounds. He wants the ball. He's not afraid of the moment in any respect. Hendon Hooker, their quarterback, we chatted with him earlier today. We'll get to that tomorrow. But as promised, joined at our broadcast site, Kyle Turley, Jim McMahon, sit down with us. Kyle, are you still in Nashville?
Yeah, just moved back there about 1.5 years, almost 2 years ago now.
Nice. Taxes, right? Taxes are better there. That's
nah,
one
schools. I got middle school kids.
Oh, nice.
We were in California, so, had to get out of there.
Still shredding a guitar?
Yeah, playing some music, just doing my thing. Hopefully, we'll see what happens with it. You never know.
Welcome, guys. Jim,
hey,
welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks.
Tell us what you're up to and why you're partnered together today.
Well, we're our company Revenant. We're trying to get our message out about this plant being a medicinal herb, not a drug, and we're trying to get the NFL to stop testing for it. Instead of these guys getting fed handfuls of pills, let them use something that's actually going to help their bodies. And the pills, all they do is mask pain, whereas cannabis actually helps with inflammation. It's the only patented neuroprotectant on the planet. And so we should be using this. We have a cannabinoid system in our bodies for this plant. We're supposed to be using it.
Am I right in thinking that they still test for it, but they don't suspend players for it anymore? So what's the point of testing?
But they can take your they can take your game checks.
Yeah, they just came out before
Gotcha.
the season. If you test positive for cannabis over 150 nanograms, which is IOC level that they went to post X Games. Yeah, right. And they got to get that X Games money, right?
Sure.
So what do you do? Raise the level of THC. That's it, right?
They take game checks.
Yeah, now they can take up to. They said they could take up to 3 game checks. They won't suspend you anymore. So no player's been suspended for marijuana since I had a meeting with the NFL about 2 years ago in LA. A bunch of other cannabis companies. I was there, part of it. Full presentation. And they say, okay, we're not going to suspend anybody anymore. But right before the season this year, they said they could take up to 3 games pay. So you're going to have to go out there and work for free for using something you should be putting in your body rather than these Toradol shots they're puncturing lungs with and, ruining careers with all these pills. It's crazy.
Jim, first time we had a chance to talk to you. We've interviewed Kyle before, so welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Do you feel like this is an issue that has gotten better, worse, or stayed the same in the NFL in terms of very liberal administration of pain pills?
Well, I mean, the pain pills, they're still being handed out pretty freely. Supposedly they're keeping track better, but you can still get as many as you want.
Yeah.
That's how it was when we played. Everything, you can cure everything with a pill. That was their motto. But like I said, all they do is mask your pain. They don't help you at all. Whereas the cannabis plant, it helps so many different afflictions,
He's still here, man. We're still here. What do we got to do? We got to be part of these statistics. 44 NFL players, 50 and younger, since 2021. Statistic just came out. 44 NFL players over our last year and a half have died. That's just an insane statistic. Over half of those guys would still be here if all they were using was cannabis instead of these pills. 115 people are going to die in America today from prescribed use. And why are we doing this still?
RevenantMJ.com, by the way, is the website.
That's right.
For more information on what they're doing.
Kyle Turley and Jim McMahon with us. Kyle, a story that I don't know if you've heard. I haven't heard Jim tell it, but I've been told it's true. You could confirm. You went to the White House. Did you, in fact, intend on giving President Obama a thong?
A thong?
What?
You gave him a headband, correct?
I gave him a headband. I don't know about a thong. I don't give away my thongs very often.
That's the running story with some people that I've chatted with from the Bears days back in the 80s.
No, I did have a shirt that I kind of rubbed up on him during our picture. During our team photo with the president, but I probably can't say it on the air here what that T-shirt was.
Okay, fair enough.
He's not in the office anymore.
How are you feeling nowadays?
Now
I know that's probably a loaded question.
Yeah,
but
well, you see me in this wheelchair right now. I've been dealing with a bad ankle for the last 15 months. Had a routine surgery, went bad, got infected. Ended up being 3 surgeries, and then they were going to cut off my leg, but they saved that. I'm still dealing with a lot of head issues. I have to go see my doctor in New York about every 4 months to get an adjustment. But other than that, this cannabis has gotten me off all the pills that I was taking, like Kyle was. I was eating them for 6 or 7 years after I retired, and had to get rid of them because you live in a fog. You don't remember a lot. You don't even know what day it is, whether or not it's day or night sometimes, and all the side effects from it. You can't sleep. You can't go to the bathroom. None of that stuff is happening anymore. I've been strictly cannabis. I had to take a couple pain pills last year for the surgery after it got infected, but other than that, I'm just strictly cannabis.
There's a new documentary out about the Baltimore Ravens of 2000, one of the great defenses, and it brings up a lot of talk about the '85 Bears, and they're mentioned in that documentary as well. Jim, does it ever get old being associated with one of the all-time greats? There's not many teams in NFL history you can put a year before the name of that team, and everyone knows the names from that team and remembers them that well. Does that ever get old for you, knowing that you're always associated with that group?
No, I mean, hell, we had a hell of a football team. I was there for 7 years. We were in the playoffs 5 of those 7 years, and probably should have won 4 or maybe 5 of those times. I mean, we were that good. It's unfortunate that we didn't play well in the playoffs. We don't have a 7-game playoff series. You got one and done. Yeah. And unfortunately, we didn't play well at home in the playoffs. But we won a hell of a lot of football games in those 5 years, and people still talk about it. I mean, hell, we were good. Nobody wanted to play us, that's for sure.
When's the last time you've reminisced prior to that season for camp at Wisconsin-Platteville and the stories that came out of there?
Those still pop up every time I get around our guys. Yeah, that was an interesting training camp place to be. Kyle was up there as well with the Saints. We had a bunch of different NFL teams that were up in that area scrimmaging against each other.
Okay.
During the preseason. But it was kind of nice to have some other teams to go up against because we were fighting with each other for pretty much every day.
Brutal. That's the old Cheese League. That's what they called it. They had all the teams. The Saints actually were up there in lacrosse. So you had the Saints in lacrosse, Chiefs in River Falls, the Vikings in Mankato, and then the Bears were where? Platteville. And so we'd all scrimmage each other during training camp because they were the bus ride away.
See, now that's camp. So you think about spring training for baseball teams, they
like
go away,
prison.
right? That's spring training. But when you think about camp, like you're literally going away and staying in probably terrible dorms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Dorm rooms with no 100%. Air conditioning and those little single beds. I don't know. You guys probably slept on the floor.
It's a little different today.
Yeah.
A little different today, I feel like, for teams.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then they don't have
Cush League. Yeah, they don't even have to put pads on anymore. So. No wonder guys can play till 45.
Yeah, this is the GOAT. You talk about Tom Brady. He would have played under the protections of Tom Brady. Good Lord, he had a 25-year, 30-year career.
Well, and Trent Dilfer took some heat on the documentary I'm talking about for saying, I love Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, but that's not impressive to me.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the 2000 Ravens, but he's saying, I watched the way you guys hit quarterbacks, and guys who would stand in against that's impressive to me.
Yeah.
Are you hinting a little bit of that, of the way the game has changed over the years from what you faced?
Well, hell, it'd be nice to know you can step into every throw and not get your knees blown out.
Yeah.
Or get whacked in the head after you threw the ball and saw the guy catch it and you still get whacked. Yeah,
no hits over the middle.
It's a hell of a lot different.
Right. Oh.
No hits over the middle no more.
Yep. Brady's even admitted this, where the rules are set up to bail a quarterback out for a poor decision.
Yeah.
You can put a
hanging this
receiver in
guy out to
harm's
dry.
Yeah, you put a receiver in harm's way, and if the defender hits you a certain way, you're
Wow, I
penalized
didn't
on
think of that.
defense. And you bail the quarterback out for a poor throw that ends up benefiting the offense.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody want to play defense anymore. I mean, where do you hit a guy?
Yeah.
I mean, our 85 team, nobody would have finished the game. They'd all been thrown out.
Yeah.
I mean, they put so many QBs out that year. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Were you obligated to hate Buddy Ryan since you played offense?
You know, Buddy, for some reason, Buddy always liked me. And he didn't like offensive guys at all. And I think a lot of that had to do with he coached with a guy I played for at BYU. Doug Scoble was our offensive coordinator. And I think him and Buddy coached somewhere in that tree before he got up to the pros. And so Doug Scoble called him after they drafted me, and he told him, hey, this kid could play. And Buddy always, for some reason, treated me well. Played a lot of racquetball with Buddy. Yeah, he was a
really.
I'd spot him 20 and beat him, but he'd be a little pissed. but he was a fun guy to be around. He just if you understood him, you could take him. But man, if he didn't like you, you didn't want to be around him at all.
So he and Ditka just didn't understand each other.
They did not see eye to eye. You know, we won in spite of them, not because of them.
Yeah.
Chad's trying to take up pickleball.
Yeah,
I've still never played it. I don't know what to.
Yeah, that's going to be next. Racquetball was fun back in the day, but
paddleball.
If you can spot someone 20 and still win, that's pretty impressive.
Chad,
racquetball.
I had a racquetball court in my house. I played quite a bit. That's what I did to stay in shape. I didn't run. You know, people always, we had a 2-mile run when I first got to Chicago, and I didn't think I was going to be in camp anyway. I was supposed to go to the USFL. And so I came to camp. I was not in shape at all. And the only guy I beat in the 2-mile run was Noah Jackson. Remember Noah? It was my left guard, weighed about 300 pounds. He's the only guy I beat. And I was literally after the second lap, because I hadn't dealt with humidity before in Chicago. I was like, oh, man, what? And I had a towel on my head, and the trainer was, come on, you got to keep going. I'm like, if I got to run 2 miles every game, we're going to get our ass kicked. I said, these guys get paid to block. Man, I shouldn't be having to run.
Jim
Shin
McMahon,
splints.
Kyle Turley, and check out the website, revenantmj.com. Guys, thank you for joining us.
Good
really
luck with
appreciate
everything.
it. Great first visit. And Kyle, you're welcome on anytime.
Yeah,
You
man,
know
really
this.
appreciate you guys over the years supporting this message. You know, at the end of the day, we just need them to stop testing. You know, we've had this experience. We're still here. I'm going to be here next year. We're talking about it.
Good.
We're not going to be part of those statistics, you know. So hopefully they get the message, man. We appreciate y'all putting it out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell some more stories about Camelot soon, too, up in Chicago.
All right.
Stay tuned. More coming, including LeGarrette Blount, who will join us at our broadcast location here at Radio Row, Super Bowl 57. OutKick 360 rolls on.
It's so crazy because Tom Brady is just a touch older than me. I believe now there are no NFL players older than me, which that's the first time in my life I can say that.
Okay.
So now I feel really old. Now I feel truly and really old.
I'm sorry, man. God, that's horrible. I didn't know that feeling. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
there's
I
a punter
apologize.
or a kicker. I'll have to check. Maybe I'm hoping there's like an old, like a long time punter, kicker, or a long snapper that's older than me, but I don't think so. And it's amazing to me thinking about Brady the last few years. Like, I know how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I can't even imagine attempting to play in the NFL like this.
Right? Yeah. I mean, well, I don't even know if last season should have happened, but that's not up for me. It's not for anybody to sit there and argue.
I don't have the drive Tom Brady has. I'm very willing to admit that.
Right.
It seemed to me, just as an outsider with no inside information whatsoever, that he retired and that he engaged in normal life for the first time in a long time. Was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm getting back to the NFL.
I don't like the daycare thing. I love my kids, but I don't like dropping it off. I don't want to go play pickleball at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, let's get back to normal. But it'd be interesting. Like, you know, I don't know if we'll see another quarterback take it that far, Andy, in the NFL. Like, he really
already
pushed
got
the
Aaron
limits,
Rodgers.
right?
Yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers gonna be 39. You got him hinting at retirement now, and it does feel like the game's maybe taking a little more toll on his body than Brady. Maybe there's some ayahuasca that'll fix that. But it's crazy that it lasted this long. I mean, I think back to how much my life, I graduated college in 2000, and working my first job, watching Tom Brady lead the Patriots when they were the underdogs to the win against the Rams in the Super Bowl, and thinking, well, that's a cool story. 6th-round guy, hope the career works out for him. And the level of winning and just consistency, I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
No. And I don't, especially with a quarterback who has that tenacity, he also puts in everything into the game. It's like he can't take a breather. And it just, he has a different workflow. It kind of reminded me of what Kobe Bryant used to do in the NBA. Or you can go on and name them on.
Yeah.
But now, but I'm interested to see now, what that looks like in the future, and does this, and I'll ask you this, because this news could break while we're down here in Mobile. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. Does this make room for him now to potentially say, okay, I can go to Tampa, we can go find a quarterback that works for me in my system, and maybe take over the offensive coordinator position? What have your thoughts been on the Monken Buccaneer stuff?
Are you ready for Stetson Bennett as the Buccaneers starting quarterback? Are we ready to live in a world where Stetson Bennett makes that pirate ship go boom? I'm
excited.
Happen?
It can in the 6th round.
It's very interesting because, Monken, I think, you look at that tenure with Jameis Winston in Tampa, it didn't go as well as anybody would have wanted. And maybe Monken going, well, if I had a different quarterback, one who didn't put the ball in harm's way as often, perhaps that works out.
LeGarrette Blount will join us in less than 10 minutes. We welcome you back. Radio Row, Super Bowl 57, OutKick 360, Hutton and Withrow, and the Pro Football Doc. Dr. David Chow sits down with us. Good to see you.
Thanks. Good to be in person. It's always better to be in person.
Yeah,
what a week this is.
As well.
You've been all over the place here on Radio Row. It's always quite the spectacle when you're here.
It is. I come here and I don't set up anything really ahead of time. Obviously, I know you're going to do you guys, and I have some Sirius and the Fox thing, but then everything else just rolls.
We saw you on with Ross Tucker earlier.
Oh, yeah, Ross is great.
Yeah.
Ross is great. He's a friend of Sports Injury Central, and it's just nice to put names with faces and meet people, and but it's hectic.
What is the biggest injury concern going into Sunday's game?
To me, it is Lane Johnson. It is not Patrick Mahomes, who's going to be 50% healthier. I don't even believe Jalen Hurts is really. He might hurt some, but he's not injured anymore.
He's not on the injury report.
Yeah.
Right?
First of all,
doesn't that factor into what?
Yes, absolutely. But also, if he were really injured, would he be talking about my shoulder's a little sore? No, it's a cat and mouse game. On top of that, his numbers haven't been fantastic, But he did throw the ball 8 of 11 times in the opening drive, and then Brock Purdy got hurt, and then he
You're
dialed
right.
it back.
I haven't thought about it that way.
Right? It's the game script between the Giants and this. I'm more worried about Hurts' rust than I am about his injury.
So throwing it more, not running it.
Oh, running it too.
But with the shoulder, does that play a factor in the play call?
I don't think it will or should. And that here we get to Lane Johnson, which I think is the one to watch. He's got a core muscle injury. Very hard to play through that. He's doing a great job. And people would say, well, he stopped Nick Bosa. But did he? The early kickstart back, almost offside, smart, get in, deep into the backfield, a yard deeper than typical in the backfield. Then a couple times you saw Nick Bosa knock him back a couple of yards, and then he stopped because it was a mush rush. Stay in your pass lanes.
The game plan.
Don't let Jalen Hurts escape. You saw Fred Warner never move off of Jalen Hurts in the RPO. They weren't going to let Hurts beat him. And so then Hurts didn't rush the ball. And guess what? In the second half, why would you ever put your quarterback at risk in that game anyways after the injuries?
That's right.
So I think it's more game script. But Lane Johnson, there is some worry. That's the biggest worry. He's been doing great. He's not all pro Lane Johnson. Maybe he's Pro Bowl alternate, and that'll be interesting to see. Do they put Chris Jones on him and really bull rush that spot? But if they do, the Eagles have a counter move. Maybe they just hand the ball off up the middle where Chris Jones left. I mean, there's always a counter move. But Lane Johnson's the one to watch. The second one might be Avonte Maddox. I think Kadarius Toney will be healthy. People say Avonte Maddox played well, but who can't play well against Brock Purdy in that second half when he couldn't throw the ball? And he was in a boot last week. So big toe injury, turf toe, kind of a tough deal.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Patrick Mahomes. Looked good against Cincinnati, better than I expected. Definitely not 100%. But now, given the 2 weeks after getting through that game and even making a play with his legs that ended up winning the game, what do you expect to see from Patrick Mahomes?
He made a play to his right where it's more comfortable, but to the left he couldn't run at all because he couldn't twist off the right ankle. And we talked about it in OutKick. We had his 6 score at 84. Effectiveness, 84% of usual effectiveness. Well, he was 326 yards, quarterback rating 105.4, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's probably 84% of Patrick Mahomes.
It's pretty good. Pretty good 84%.
Right? And look, 100% is 400 yards and 4 touchdowns or whatever, right? But he's going to be 50% of the way to 100 from where he was with these 2 weeks. He won't be 100. We've raised his 6 score to 91. Jalen Hurts is still healthier than he is, but he's climbing. And so, look, as it should be, healthy teams move on. For the most part, these have been healthier teams all season.
Brock Purdy reportedly is going to have the surgery. I'm assuming this is the Tommy John surgery we've been discussing with the UCL injury that he suffered. Timetable, Ian Rappaport is saying he's back by training camp. Is that realistic?
Is it possible? I would say yes. Is it guaranteed? Far from it. First of all, the hope is it's a Tommy John ligament repair, not reconstruction. Reconstruction would be 12, 18 months.
Okay.
Yes, he is having a baseball doctor do the surgery. But remember when they first said he needed surgery, I was already questioning if 6 months was a guarantee. Now he's not having the surgery until February 21st, and he's ready for the starter training camp. That's now 5 months timeline. What changed? It's not like the doctor found something that was better. I don't, and here's the thing. I respect the heck out of John Lynch. He's a San Diegan GM, the whole deal. But the 49ers have a quarterback conundrum. They want Brock Purdy, but there's no guarantee he'll be healthy. And even if he is healthy, what happens to the development of a young quarterback who's not there throughout the whole offseason program? Number 2 quarterback they want is Trey Lance, but there's no guarantee. He's not healthy today, maybe in a month or 2, but is there a guarantee his ankle will return to 100%? And they don't want Jimmy G, and he's the only healthy one right now, ready to go. So it's quite the conundrum. I'm not trying to say they're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers or bring Tom Brady out of retirement, but can they really afford to sit pat when this year's Super Bowl ready team got submarined by the quarterback position? Are they going to try it again with any question marks? I mean, they got to do something, right?
Yeah.
Or at least some sleepless nights, or keep your fingers crossed that Brock Purdy starts to look good early on after his surgery, which you won't even know till February 21. I mean, I think there's a lot of consideration in that front office. That's all. It's quite a conundrum right now.
Follow Dr. David Chow on social at Pro Football Doc. Read the great work at OutKick as well. Always good to see you. Thank you for the perspective as always.
Whether it's in Nashville or Arizona or LA, always good having you.
Always
on.
welcome.
Good. Thank you.
One of the best right here. One of our favorite guests over the years. We had the chance to catch up with earlier today. Here is our conversation with a 3-time Super Bowl champion, former NFL running back LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount, our guest on Radio Row. Welcome back, OutKick 360. Welcome back to the show. We had a great visit last year.
I appreciate you guys, man. It's always fun, man. This is my second year on Radio Row, so this is always fun. I'm starting to get used to it.
Are these, do you consider your Eagles are playing for the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah. They're my boys. That's my squad. Hands down. That's always going to represent them.
You don't consider yourself a Titan? I thought you'd be a Titan forever based on your short time there.
I know, right, man?
That had to be a motivating factor for you, though, in your career.
That was extremely motivating, considering the fact that I initially made the team and then got cut because, obviously they had needs at special teams. They went and got a linebacker, I think, a special teams linebacker. And that was the end of my career as a Tennessee Titan. It would have been fun to play with CJ, though.
3-time Super Bowl champ. Which is your favorite of the 3?
Oh, the Philly one. Yeah, hands down.
Because of your impact on that run?
Sir. Yes, sir. It was fun. They trusted me, and they believed that I was going to be a big factor and a deciding factor in that game. Me and Deuce had conversations prior to that game that I wanted to be a big factor, and I wanted to be a part of it. Of the success, of the game, and making sure that we put ourselves in the best position to win. I wanted to be a part of that. That was definitely my favorite one.
And then you end up at New England, and you have tons of success there. Brady recently retiring. Your locker was very close to Tom's locker, wasn't
right next to 12, yeah.
What was that like?
Man, it was cool, man. He's a funny dude, man. He's a nice guy. Joke with him every day. He's a good dude, man. He's probably one of the only dudes that I know that walk around in a bathrobe in the locker room, bro. So usually it's no homo, but usually I'm just saying that everybody has a towel in their locker, right? It's for you get done practicing or whatever you're gonna do. You come in, you get your stuff off, you put your towel on, and you take a shower. That's just routine. Dog got a real bathrobe. It got TB12 on it or something like that.
It looks of course it does. Walking around like he's at a resort.
It's his world. We living in it.
I love this because Russell Wilson has his own office. Brady had his own bathrobe.
Yeah.
Ain't no more offices for Russell.
No.
I'm gonna tell you that now. I don't think Sean Payton doing that.
That office is going away. I see Brady in the bathrobe with a newspaper, coffee, legs crossed.
No coffee. No coffee for Brady.
Oh, that's true. No caffeine. All electrolytes.
Yes, eating his lunch that was prepared at home that he brought to work, like as if he's going to, a 9-to-5, construction working job.
I love it. We talked to Bobby Carpenter on our show regularly, and he was there a short time, but said Tom Brady walked up and introduced himself to him. Logan Ryan, same thing. Hey, I know you're our 3rd-round pick. Do you have a similar story about meeting him? Did he approach you first?
Yeah, 100%. He came up to me, shook my hand, was like, hey, LeGarrette, man, we're happy to have you here. You're going to help us out a lot. We're excited about it. You're a really good player, man. So, we're happy to have you. That always feels good coming from someone like him. It feels good coming from anyone on the team, considering the fact that you don't know anyone there. So anybody that would have come up to you and said that is always nice, right? And it being him just makes it obviously a little bit more special because he's noticing my talent.
Throughout your career, has a coach ripped apart a quarterback in practice the way Belichick would do Brady?
Ooh. I haven't seen that.
That speaks volumes for everyone else, doesn't
it? Yeah, I have not seen that. Not with Josh Freeman, not with any of the quarterbacks that I've played with. I haven't seen that, man. So
how does that affect the team when you see Tom Brady getting lit up?
It affects the team in a positive way because it shows you that no one is exempt from getting their ass chewed out. No one is exempt from that. Everybody is live when it comes to that. And if you make a mistake, and an obvious mistake, or you make the same mistake twice, or whatever the case may be, Bill gonna be on your ass. It don't matter who it is. So that speaks volume to him.
Well, speaking of Bill, he was on the Let's Go podcast. LeGarrette, I didn't know it was him. His voice sounded so different. When he was talking to Tom Brady as kind of man-to-man, friend-to-friend, and talking about his career, we in the media, we hear Bill Belichick at press conferences. Did you get to hear that different tone in his voice at any point playing for him where he sounded different than he does around everyone else?
Oh, yeah. No, I've talked to him, and I've had, him have a different conversation with me. Whether it's the game where I rushed for 160 yards, or whether it was me running, the game where I had a couple kick returns and things like that. He'll bring a different energy to you then. He might still bring a joke with it. It's like, bro, you broke an 80-yard kick return and you only to get caught by the kicker. Or, it's like, it's like, well, dang, bro, you can't score right there. So he's a jokester when he wants to be. Obviously, in the right situation, in the right setting, he can be a funny guy.
LeGarrette Blount, our guest on OutKick 360. What was your initial reaction when you were traded to New England, when Schiano traded you?
I was happy to leave there.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Me and him never had a good relationship. He's not one of my favorite people in the world. So, I think I might have been at 24 Hour Fitness or maybe LA Fitness or something, and I was playing basketball. And I remember some guys telling me, hey, bro, your phone's ringing. Your phone's ringing. I'm like, I ain't worried about that, man. I'll get it after the game. I ain't finna stop the game to answer the phone. And we won. And obviously, you've been in the gym before.
You win
when
and you stay. You win, you stay.
On.
Yeah,
right. So playing. We won. And we played again.
Yeah.
So,
And then you won again, probably, and you kept playing.
So for about 45 minutes, he was calling and texting my phone, and I didn't know it was him. So I finally got, we finally lost, me, this is me, not everybody else. When I lose, I'm not trying to wait for 3 or 4 games to play again. I've already played 3 or 4 games. We won them. I'm not finna get cold and wait here 3 or 4 games, have to stretch again and play again. So I finally checked my phone, and I seen it, and I called him back, and I'm like, oh, what's good, coach? Da-da-da. It's like, hey, I just want to call you and let you know we traded you to the New England Patriots, man. Da-da-da. I said, okay, appreciate it. Hung up. And, that was it. It's the last time we talked. And I went to my house. I walked to my crib, which was right across the street. Walked to my crib, got on the phone, told my family and stuff, and started getting ready to go. And with a smile on my face, I had no idea what New England was about. I had no idea what they did. I didn't know what what their regimens were or anything like that. I just knew that Bill Belichick was a hard coach. That was all I knew, but I didn't have no problem working hard. I'm not opposed to grinding hard. I'm not opposed to going out there and putting the work in. So that was right up my alley.
Is the mistake made by a guy like Schiano that he can't adjust from college to pro football and he handles things like he would in college? Or is that just simply a personality problem where he's either unable to adjust to the pro game or unwilling, or that's just who he is?
I think that's just who he is. It's probably a personality problem. I mean, he's probably one of those guys that just is stuck in his own ways, right? If it's not working my way, then I'm not going to adjust it to make it work any other way, because my way works. He is. He's a. I mean, to certain people, he's cool. He's awesome. To Doug Martin, that was his guy. He was cool. Praised him, get on his knees, all that good stuff, Doug Martin. But when it came to LeGarrette Blount, it was always like a scolding look, like a, you know what I'm saying? Like a look crazy, like, bro, at the end of the day, bro, we both grown men, right? You don't have to look at me like that anytime you see me. You don't have to talk to me with a lot of disgust in your voice whenever you talk to me.
But I mean, you expect to get coached, not just, you don't expect to get disrespected at every turn around the facility.
You know what I'm saying? And and we all know what disrespect is versus what coaching is, right? I've been yelled at and screamed at by Bill. I've been yelled at and screamed at by Josh. I've been yelled at and screamed at by Raheem Morris. All these guys. It was different when it came from him. And I felt like it was personal when it came from him. I felt like it was just something against me that he didn't like, or something about me that he didn't like. So I was happy to part ways with that guy. I was really happy to part ways with that guy.
LeGarrette Blount with us, LG's Feel Good CBD. Aaron Rodgers may be using some of this in his what is it, a darkness retreat that he's
have
going
you ever
on?
gone into a darkness retreat? 4
light-
days,
light
no
deprivation?
light, dark room.
I've actually never heard of a darkness retreat. So that is
sensory deprivation.
Right.
So he's in a small room, and it's like isolation for 3 or 4 days.
So
where
does he
sees
stay in
nothing
this
but
small
darkness.
room the whole 3 or 4 days?
yeah.
And he
does he
sees
not
nothing.
eat?
You're supposed to hallucinate, and all these things are supposed
Does-
to happen.
so
I
he's
don't think
taking
that's what's going
shrooms?
on with your product,
No.
though, right? No hallucination.
taking shrooms?
I don't know what he's doing.
How is he hallucinating on his own?
He talked about ayahuasca.
retreats
last year, where
that he goes on.
He saw
What is
visions.
that?
That's a form. Shrooms is probably a decent comparison. It's like a tea.
Yeah,
that
Chad,
you
tell us
drink.
about it.
Yeah,
See, that's what I'm saying.
as the drug expert on this show, let me take this. It's like a tea that makes you hallucinate. I think you put it into a tea.
So he's taking hallucinogenics
Yes.
to hallucinate.
Yeah, and now
see
he
these
wants
visions.
to see. Now he wants to see visions based on sensory deprivation, and he thinks the vision is going to tell him what he should do next. Should he just try your product instead?
I think he should just try LG's Feel Good, and if that body feel good, go out there and play A-Rod. My guy, get away from the hallucinogenics, my bro. Don't let that tell you what you should and shouldn't do, because that is the hallucinogenic might tell you to go jump off a cliff. Hopefully you don't do that.
So this is the roller gel you have right here. Right?
Yes, sir. That's the roller. I have pain patches. I have sleep gummies, and I have anxiety drops, all in which are all natural, all organic, and 100% THC free. So A-Rod, you can definitely use this. This was inspired by guys like you, guys like me, and it is for guys like you and guys like me, not limited to us, obviously. It's for everyone in the world, because we want everyone to feel great.
Do us a favor, and next year when we talk to you, we always love these chats. Please do the sensory deprivation chamber and come on and let's spend at least 5 minutes talking about what visions you saw when you did it, please.
Yeah,
Please.
If I see visions, it ain't going to be from the sensory deprivation. I'm going to tell you that.
Good to see you,
appreciate
LG.
you guys, man.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
man.
Thank you guys
As
for having
always.
me on, man. Always a pleasure.
LeGarrette Blount has been our guest here on Radio Row at Super Bowl 57 across the OutKick network.
I witnessed, Dennis Price and C-Spray and all these people just do such amazing things, and we continue to get asked about Afghanistan and what we didn't do in Ukraine. Like, why would you, like, beyond Aziz, it's no brainer why I would go help Aziz. Why would we continue to help these people? And I think the easy answer is it's the right thing to do. Like, I mean, when the governments of the world completely failed, including our own, it was very discouraging. But what brought me hope was to see that when the governments of the world failed, good people stood up and did what the governments wouldn't do and couldn't probably do, and did the right thing. And that was really encouraging for me, because I think all of us kind of struggle with hope in our country right now because of the political divide and things that we don't agree with. But it was really hopeful to see that when the governments don't do the right thing, people do. And one of the things myself and C-Spray were asking in this interview is, why would you do it? And of course we said, because it's the right thing to do. But C-Spray was asked a question that I think is important that we can all learn from. He was asked, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And he said, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. And whether it's something like this or in your personal lives, like, I think we all have the ability to do the right thing in our own little spheres of our life. And we always try to balance the ROI, like what are we going to get out of it? What's the return on investment? But it doesn't always have to be worth it to do the right thing. And in this case, I don't know if it was worth it or not. I thought it was worth it to Aziz and his family and the 17,000 Afghans. And I believe that burden God put in our heart. I think it was worth it to God for us to be obedient and go do that call. But I think the world could learn something from this, that there is hope, that there's good people around and will stand up and do the right things. People that supported us were not people that I typically agree with. There's a lot of people that follow me on Instagram that hate me and bash me for my conservative views and stuff like that. But they were writing me like, hey, I don't like you, but what you're doing is awesome. And where can I support? Where can I give money? And it was so cool. And we had this Jewish organization that they wanted to pay for 2 planes, which was like $1.5 million, a big donation. And they called me back and they said, hey, we tried to make the donation, but we can't do it. And I was like, oh, why? Did I give you the wrong routing number or something? They said, no, we're a Jewish organization, and Mighty Oaks Foundation, my foundation, is a Christian organization, and we can't give you that money. And I said, okay, but you do realize we're rescuing Muslims, right? And we kind of laughed and moved forward, and they made that donation. It was just an amazing moment in time where politics religion, like nothing else mattered besides good people standing up and do the right thing for other people. And it'll always be like just super special to me to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the whole thing. And like I said to the audience, go ahead and get the book, Saving Aziz. You can get it anywhere you want to get books. It's an incredible story, and I think it's something young people especially should learn about. And everyone, because it does go to show that there's good people. You know, everyone wants to be at each other's throats these days. That's kind of what the media teaches you to do. Hate each other. Everyone's a villain. If you disagree, you have to hate. Not true. Not true at all. So I think your story is you know, represents that you can, a lot of good out there. Now on the Ukraine, because I do want to talk about this, because the war is ongoing. What was your experience when it comes to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it's changed. It's changed since I began. You know, it started in February. We had ceasefires on the ground before the invasion because we knew it was coming. We were watching it unfold, and then I went immediately after the invasion. I was in Ukraine, you know, days after the invasion, and originally we went there to see, you know, hey, how can we help? Afghanistan is a lot different. People couldn't go in Afghanistan and load up mass amounts of people to get them out. We were able to do that. Ukraine, people could drive a bus across the border, open the door, load it up, and get people out. So the mass evacs were not something we needed to do. And, you know, one of the things about special operations is you do what's special, you do what other people can't.
Wrapping up what's been a solid day one from Radio Row, Super Bowl 57. Glad you're with us across the OutKick network. Shout out to Chuck for bringing us in and out. To me, the superior.
What a clutch move by Chuck.
Of any of the burger debate, of any of it, Chad. In and out gets it done for me.
Even, you know, we were so busy throughout the show, even an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half after he ordered it, still delicious. Like, amazingly, it wasn't even the hottest, but I still loved it. Would have been better had it been a little bit hotter, but it was, you know, beggars can't be choosers here on Radio Row. But, no, kudos to Chuck for going and delivering that for us. He's working with Clay Travis a little bit, so I didn't know that we were going to benefit in this way, where he had to leave.
Well, Clay would have a microwave
could get
on
us
set.
food on the way. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Clay's probably got like a Michelin star chef preparing his meals for him somewhere right now. But, hey, I'll take In-N-Out Burger any day of the week over that Michelin star chef. So kudos to Chuck for picking that up for us. Great job by our crew here. Also, Haley Carania, Corey Taylor doing a terrific work.
And everybody back in the studio as
Yeah.
well. A lot of editing and a lot of communication happening today. So shout out to everybody with the OutKick crew.
This is not an easy few days for anyone, but especially our
blast,
crew.
Though.
That's
what are we
working
doing tonight?
overtime, but we appreciate them.
What party are we going to?
There's a possibility of a Colin Cowherd party.
Okay.
With his podcast network that we may be attending. There was something else talking to Clay last night that he had mentioned after that, but I felt like that was like a level up that we weren't going to reach. If you remember, he even said, Hutton, he's like, hey, I'm going to this Colin Cowherd party tomorrow. You guys should come with me. And then not even 30 minutes later, he said, actually, let me go check it out first and see how exclusive it is. And then I'll shoot you guys a text and let you know if
it's exclusive. It's not that we couldn't get in. It's that he wants to keep it exclusive.
Well, he wants to keep it exclusive, and it's like I shouldn't just show up with 5 or 6 people before checking out the scene and who all's invited. So who knows? We've done a good job on this trip of not overloading our social calendar and just letting the chips fall where they may. It's a very laissez-faire attitude by you and I on this Super Bowl trip. Whatever happens, happens.
I'm here for it.
If we have plans, we have plans. If not going to worry about it.
Let me pull up tomorrow. Another solid guest list tomorrow. We chatted with Hendon Hooker today. We'll have that tomorrow on the show for sure. But plenty of guests lined up, Chad, throughout the week. And by the end of the week, that's normally where the actors and everything's begin to flow into town as well.
Speaking of actors, tomorrow we should have actor Chris Davis, who's playing George Foreman.
That's right.
In the movie Big George Foreman. Check out that trailer. It looks terrific. Way better than 80 for Brady. We'll have a conversation with him. It's going to be a big day tomorrow and probably an even bigger day on Friday.
The Hollister twins are going to swing by, too, tomorrow.
I love that. Anytime you get
Ron
twins.
Jaworski, Brian Urlacher, Tim Brown.
That's a big day.
All on the schedule. Hope you'll join us. We start at 3 o'clock Eastern, both tomorrow and Friday, to get you ready for the big game. Chiefs and Eagles for Super Bowl 57 on Fox. There'll be a lot of breakdowns. We'll give our prediction on Friday. Plenty of news and headlines throughout. We will most likely, among the headlines, break down what Roger Goodell had to say in the full press conference in his State of the NFL today with media members.
We will take copious amounts of notes on everything he had to say.
And then some college hoops reaction.
Yeah.
Some games tonight.
Some college basketball. North Carolina loses last night at Wake Forest. They're going to find a way in, I feel like.
Wake bought that team.
Yeah. Steve Forbes just buying teams left and right, according to Jim Boeheim. And Kentucky loses at home last night to Arkansas in a small surprise. Arkansas very talented, but they're starting to put it together now. They had a rough start, but now 6-5 in the SEC. We'll talk about all of it.
If you missed portions of today's show, any of the chats, you can go to outkick.com for the podcast, or on YouTube, just search us out. You can download the audio as well wherever you download your podcast. Just search out OutKick 360. Back at it for the Thursday edition tomorrow, starting at 3 o'clock Eastern.